Oh, I might find out just how many people don't want people coming to the fair. I didn't.
I don't know if we should. It's Emerald. People are here.
That was on.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 20th Planning Board meeting. Jessica, are there changes to the agenda?
Yes, there are two changes to the agenda since it was posted. That would go under any other business to come before the board. A is that Roger Sample is up for re-election. The time frame to fill in your candidacy paperwork is from January 25th through February 3rd. And B, the board to vote on Mark Manning becoming an alternate, as tonight would be his third attendance at a regular planning board meeting, and he's in the audience. So you guys would need to do that later on. Sorry, there's two more changes. No, those were posted. Never mind. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to approve the agenda as amended.
All in favor?
I'll second,
Can I have a second?
Oh,
second that.
it's seconded now.
Scott and Bill, you gotta name the names because the.
Motion by Scott Williams.
Seconded.
Second by
By
Bill
Bill.
O'Neill. Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Notice is hereby,
Can I just call a point of order for a moment? So the appointment of alternates, so since Drew Carter is absent, we do have two alternates, Lee Hillsgrove, or Tom Divney, so I would suggest appointing an alternate for tonight.
okay. Call on Lee.
Okay,
Okay,
How we do? Notice is hereby given that the Alton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 20th, 2022. Starting at 6 p.m. in the Alton Town Hall, Alton, New Hampshire. To consider the proposed amendments to the Alton zoning ordinance for 2023 ballot vote as follows. Amendment number 1. To amend Article 200 definitions by adding new definitions, short-term rental, non-transient, owner-occupied, and transient. And by amending the following definitions: accessory building, structure, or use. Bed and breakfast and lodging house to amend the following different lodging house. Article 300, general provisions by adding new section 365, short-term rental. And to amend Article 400 zoning districts regulations by adding a new use section 401 permitted uses, table of uses, D47 point short-term rental. And the renumbering of subsequent uses to be allowed in the Lakeshore residential, commercial, residential, rural, and the recreational services zones. That's a lot. Have any discussions on all that I've read?
I would go forward and continue reading the
Continue.
notice first.
The whole,
Yes, please.
all, okay, dokie. Planning Board proposed amendment number 2. To amend Article 200 definitions by amending the following definitions: dwelling unit, hotel, motel, and by removing dwelling unit CCRC, continuing care retirement community, and to amend Article 300 general provisions, section 331, continuing care retirement communities, CCRC, and Article 400 zoning district regulations, section 413, special exceptions to correct and the use of them dwelling units. Planning Board proposed amendment number 3. To amend Article 300 general provisions by amending section 355 recreational campground or camping park to be consistent with the requirements of Article 200 definitions. recreational campground or camping park. Planning Board proposed amendment number 4 to amend Article 400 zoning district regulations by adding a new section to Recreation Service Zone, Section 423, Special Exceptions, by adding a new section to the Rural Zone, Section 453, Special Exceptions, and by adding a new section to the Residential Rural Zone, Section 464, Special Exceptions, making a reference to C, Section 401, Permitted Uses, Table of Uses. Planning Board proposed amendment number 5 to amend Article 400 zoning districts regulations by amending Section 412 restrictions governing use, Section 433 restrictions governing use, and Section 443 restricting governing use by adding the number of structures allowed on a lot for uses, single-family dwelling, duplex or two-family dwelling, multifamily structure, and townhouse. Planning Board proposed amendment number 6 to amend Article 400 zoning district regulations by amending Section 433 restrictions governing uses, Section 443 restrictions governing use, Section 452 restrictions governing use, and Section 463 restrictions governing use by clarifying that access to each lot shall be via the required street frontage for each district, to be consistent with other districts. Planning Board proposed amendment number 7 to amend Article 400 zoning district regulations by amending Section 451 permitted uses by moving the special exceptions, additional conditions, criteria to its own section by adding Section 453 special exceptions, and Section 462 permitted uses by moving the special exceptions, additional conditions, criteria to its own section by adding Section 464 special exceptions to be consistent with other districts. Copies of full text of 2023 proposed zoning amendments proposed by the Planning Board are available free of charge from the Planning Department during regular business hours, are posted at the post office and town hall for viewing purposes only, and can be found on Town of Alton website, www.alton.newhampshire.gov.
You don't have to read that next one because we're having the hearing.
Wow. You took
I
that.
can read it.
and Come up here and explain it to me. I know what it's like to go to the voting booth now. It's like, what are you saying? Now I'll ask if there's any comments. Open it to the public,
Well,
or you got?
We talked about it a lot before it got here, so.
Already. I think you want to give
I
a
don't know
quick
why, I
summary
think
so
I-
people know what you're actually talking about?
Well, probably the one that people are most interested, well, I shouldn't say that, but number one with the short-term rentals. We've been struggling with a lot of people that had complaints about them being in their neighborhood and possibly overusing the dwelling, parking on the street, a whole array of problems. And so we've been wrestling with how to do that. We've had some of the people, one person here was part of our committee. So we had the public involved as well. And so I guess what we came up with is what you've seen here in the town board of selectmen will be issuing a permit for the accessory, the short-term rental. This way, if the person has, it'll be up to the selectman to decide how many strikes before you're out. But that's what it's going to be. If you have major problems, someone needs to be a contact person that's within, like 30 minutes away. So if there is a problem, someone can react. And so that's basically the nutshell of what we're trying to do, is just protect the neighbors from undue abuse from a rented unit. I guess that's because, people that rent these are on vacation, and, we've all been on vacation and you like to have a good time. So that's where we're at.
Next door is not good.
Well, along with it's not as much the people on vacation, it's the ones that came up for the weekend and They just crash the places, more people than should be there. And that's the one that we're trying to, that's the aim. It's not the people that come up and are enjoying it for a week and are following all the rules. That's fine. That's what we're here for. It's anybody who has one next to them, they know what we're after. So that's in a nutshell. That is that one. All these other ones. Hard to
Roger,
explain.
there's a question in the back.
I have a question.
Sure.
Please identify yourself.
I think you need to,
Come on up.
Can we, point of order, please? So the board can either do one of two things. You could either go through all the amendments as a board and discuss them, and then open up for public input for them to come up and talk about all of them. Or you could go through number one, have a discussion, and then open it up for public input.
I think that would be the best because that way it would be fresher in people's minds if they have a question. I don't know about me, but by the time someone else talks, I go, oh, what was I going to ask?
Yes.
why didn't we skip that and just do this?
I'll
Because you have to
agree
read
with
the
you on
whole
that.
Yeah.
Go one at a time.
So if the board chooses to have public input after each one.
I'll
then
move,
I
I
will
will to
officially-
do that.
Yeah.
I'll
that
second that.
procedure.
Okay, so we're just gonna go through this and then you can come up. It's gonna be on the same issue. Okay. So,
Does anybody have anything on number one that they have concerns about? Here at the board, at the table?
No,
I think we've been through this multiple
Yeah,
iterations.
exactly. Raj, I think you can open up to public now on number one, because we don't have any questions.
okay, which is this one? This is number one.
Yep, and the next page.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
All
kind of
right.
lengthy.
okay,
Okay,
so now you can come up.
thank you.
I'll just mention that I'm a fill-in chairman here
Any
tonight.
seat.
Hi,
Yeah. you could
my name
just-
is Julie. I live on Main Street and a lot of you are familiar with Lenny Brown's old house.
Yeah, if you had a last name, that would be good.
My name is Julie Saint Savior. It's ST.SAU, V as in Victor, E as in Edward, UR. Over the summer, John Devers, sorry, and I have become very familiar with each other because I have a neighbor who has decided to erect a tent, essentially a hard-sided tent, and he is now renting that as an Airbnb.
Wow.
There is no bathroom facility associated with this. So he is literally leaving his house open for these people to go in and out. And I can guarantee you and assure you that these people do not come down the hill at night to use the bathroom. So where they are using, probably the woods. The problems that I have is now that he has this listed as a pet-friendly facility. So now I have no idea when I send my dog out if there are dogs in my backyard or not, which is a huge problem because I sent my dog to go out to go to the bathroom and I have 2 pit bulls coming down the hill in my backyard. I also have rats now that I've never had before because he collects trash and refuses to go to the dump. And I have pictures that I would have printed for you, but I didn't think it would matter.
I would,
We probably shouldn't be case
yes,
specific on this.
this
just
isn't,
for the
this isn't
general
a hearing on that.
thing.
I understand.
This is very
So-
concerning.
Yeah, so you can,
So the other problem that we have with this is that literally 2 nights ago, I was sitting in my living room watching a movie and I see lights trying to come up my driveway because we have a second entrance. And this little car was trying to drive up a sheet of ice. And so they backed down, got into the road to get a running start. And I literally had to run out in my stockings to tell them to stop because they were going to drive on top of my septic system. And there's obviously a concern with that too, because if they slipped and fell down the hill, they would ultimately crash into my home. So who's responsible when we didn't ask for this to be happening on our own property? And then all of a sudden we have vehicles showing up in our yard because they have no idea where they're going or what they're going to. it's scary to think that, you know, we have a tent literally on the hill behind our house that is being rented with no facilities and not, you know, it's just crazy.
It is crazy.
I believe that this proposal here would address every problem you're discussing.
I hope so.
Definitely. What I don't want to get it because I couldn't believe it. Somebody told me what was going on. And I said, yeah, right. And
Yeah,
I drove by and I saw it. And
it's like a carnival.
I can't
at
believe
night.
that John hasn't been able to remedy the
Well, the
problem.
problem is that he has addressed him and he said it was for personal use only. And it wasn't until we did more digging that we actually found his advertisement on Airbnb or one of those. And so I sent that picture and multiple pictures to John to say, oh no, this is not personal use. This is actually being rented. It's $158 a night. Why anyone would want to stay in a tent in the middle of winter, I don't know, but it's
Oh, that's
a
pretty good
problem.
pay.
Who owns the land?
It
You know,
is
the-
actually owned in an LLC.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy
You
situation.
know, at the house, I think the name was Brown or down by Root.
It was Brady.
Was it, oh, Brady.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was-
the White House.
Yeah.
There was nobody there for years.
It was vacant for
For
13 years.
They
Yeah.
Boarded up. That's the house.
Yeah.
There's an
Oh, I know,
escalator.
I know where it
There's
is.
an Escalade down at the bottom of the hill that's kind of
Yeah,
sinking.
yeah,
in the
that's
dirt.
all way up there.
Refer to it as the trash farmer's house, but yes.
Because that isn't right.
Right.
We all know this guy.
I have. I'm been on vacation this week.
That's okay. I heard.
and
I
and
made a phone call.
And I haven't had a chance to update you, but I did have a conversation with our town attorney about what exactly to use to correct this.
Yeah.
When I get back, I will be doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Get it
trust
fixed,
that
yeah.
you have been on it. I just
Yeah.
seriously want everybody to know what we are literally dealing with because it's scary. I mean,
I think also you could go to Airbnb if you have seen that advertised on there.
Mm.
And I think there's a place for a comment you can send to Airbnb, because I understand, and I don't know, and I know someone here that's using Airbnb, that they help monitor
yeah.
this situation. They don't want to send their people that they've advertised to generate to have a poor experience. And
Right.
Benjamin, if you feel I'm wrong on that, or
They definitely care. The fact that it's tents, I would not be.
Yeah.
No
I
bathroom.
would say put pictures with it too.
Oh, I have lots of pictures,
Nothing about it.
but
Think-
it's
no, I mean,
violent in the sense that I have strangers in my backyard now that we don't know when they're there or if they have dogs with them or what is happening. Not to mention the fact that the trash is a major problem and the rats and the other animals that come with garbage. And so our dog was actually mauled by a wild animal last year and ended up having to have surgery and had major infection and wounds from it. So it's been a long standing issue and it just keeps escalating because now there's a tent in the woods.
So
Well,
I
it
think,
sounds like John has the remedy for
I hope
for
so.
that situation.
Yeah,
but again, I would reiterate what Tom Hoops just said is that, you know, that's what the amendment is specifically proposed to address. And
Yes,
Yeah.
we are aware of the issue and trying to find a solution to address problems like this.
the time we spent on this particular article probably was about 90% of the time versus the rest of them. This one was a very complex thing that we needed to deal with.
yeah, because I mean, there are a lot of people, I know people that have Airbnbs that run them responsibly and as they should be, but this is not one of those situations.
Well, and yours is like a total worse in a total direction.
Yeah.
Most of it's just noise and cars and, you know, I mean, yours is
Very different.
very different.
Are they using a different driveway cut or the main driveway?
No, he
No,
built
it's
his
a-
own road.
It's a
Well,
path.
we also should get Division 3 involved because they have increased the use of that driveway access. Roger, you should know that.
I know that.
And they will help police it. Yeah,
He
Well,
doesn't have approval to do what he's doing.
correct.
I just know
I'm
that
just
when
trying to get
sat-
many people to gang up on him as possible.
I know when I sat before you before to have my shop approved, I had to write to the state to change the use of my driveway because it's a state road. And then to watch him literally build some road in the back, and then every time it rained this summer, it washed all that topsoil down into the road, and then it just filled the road with dirt and mud. And so I'm like, well, that's not really, that can't be to code. That can't be
And
anything.
if you have pictures of that, please provide them to John.
Yeah, I have lots of pictures because all of my inside windows overlook this. So,
What a treat.
yeah, it's been a joy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's just sad because I bought that home because I grew up with Sherry Brown and Kendra Brown, and I wanted to save it. And it has a lot of historical history in this town. And I've spent the last 13 years putting all my blood, sweat, and tears into it. And then to have that happen next door is so devastating that it makes me want to sell and move away. Because
Don't do that.
why do you want to live next to
Well,
that?
Terry
the
was one of
number
our
of people that
teachers.
came to the board to discuss problems that they've been having was the reason that so much effort has been put into this.
Yeah,
And it's been simplified to such a degree, but you can't operate unless you have a permit from the selectmen, and there are requirements that have to be met.
yeah,
So whether it's septic, whether it's noise, whether it's legality, this is there to protect the abutters.
yeah.
And you know that guy's not gonna get a
No,
permit.
no.
We thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And I'm sure John has the ammunition to remedy the problem.
Yes.
Because I can't believe that it couldn't be remedied just like that. It's such a horror show.
Yeah, it has been. So,
Don't-
and I can't say enough for John. He really has been really good about getting back to me and being available,
Yeah.
but it's just, I've been watching this nightmare build all summer and I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. This is going to end up being something bad. And so he ended up actually talking to us personally over the summer and said that his intentions are to build 3 or 4 more of
Oh.
these tent sites. So we're like, oh my God, we're
Well,
over this.
Between John and the voters,
Yeah.
we may solve this problem.
Okay.
Just hang in there.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And the voters are important to help get this into place because, as you can see,
Yeah, it's important. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
have a great evening.
Have anybody else that would like to speak on this one? Oh, we got 2.
Sir, if I may, go ahead. Have a
Oh,
seat.
no.
I just would like to make a comment to the general public regarding
Yeah.
the process this is involved. This had, as Scott said, this was a tremendous amount of work. We also had a committee that involved members of the public, several members of the public who are here that sat as both owners of Airbnbs and people who are involved or affected by Airbnbs. So this isn't something we did dreamed up lightly or whatever. There was a tremendous amount of thought and conversation. We have a professional consultant who was in the process of helping us with the master plan, rewrite the town's master plan, who also assisted with this, and she has helped other towns through this process to provide the ordinance and whatever. So, and we looked to everybody. This is a problem that virtually every town in the state of New Hampshire and all across the country have been addressing or struggling with in some cases. So we wanted to be very careful about how we did this so that we get it right the first time. That's, you know, and that what we are doing would meet. Someone told me once when I started in my job that I have to think of every decision as if I have to defend it in court. And that's the test. You know, so that's why we had hired a professional to assist with this. So this is not something that's just been thrown out there because, so I don't care what you see on Facebook or in the comments or whatever that blah, just more regulation. No, the idea is we are a resort town. We are a resort area. That's what the biggest, I think the biggest single industry in New Hampshire now is tourism. And which is a huge shift from when I was a child. But so we want to protect that. It's important, but it's also too important to protect the people who live here and work here. So there's a balance, a very difficult balance. we're trying to put together here, but I think I feel that the amount of work that's been done and everybody that's been involved with it. Well, and we're very unique in this as far as working on these zoning amendments with a committee instead of just being left to staff. I don't know of any other town that does that. We don't do it I don't live here. I live in another town. We don't do that there. So it involves a whole lot more involvement of the public. And we are always open. People say, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. Come talk to us. Come tell me, you know, I'm out and about.
Come attend meetings,
Please.
please.
People come to talk to us. Yeah, attend meetings or send an email or something. You know, if you talk to someone, they say, well, I don't understand. Have them send Jessica or me an email. We're more than happy to talk to them about it. But we've got a lot of time and effort tied up into this. I don't want to see it go to waste because someone didn't ask the right questions. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Richard Shea from Roberts Cove Road. I don't have any giant problems like the young lady that came up here a few minutes ago. I just had a couple of questions on Article 200, where you have a definition of owner occupied, where it seems to require that at least one of the people that actually has title on the land records to the property has to be present. Would that be a bit of a stretch if we had a husband and wife, but the husband's name was on the title and he was not there, or they wanted to have their son and daughter use the place? Would they be out of luck based on this definition?
I think what we thought to cover this, sir, is that someone needs to be within a certain travel time, you know, because some owners are remote. I mean, they're snowbirds. They go south for the winter and they rent their place to a skier or what have you. And so I think that what we hopefully provide for in that is that someone can aid us that has authority.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what you're looking for.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
All right. And the other thing I wondered about on Article 300, there's a requirement, and perfectly reasonable, that the dwelling be in compliance with building health and life safety codes. But I wondered whether we have situations sometime where you have an old building that doesn't meet the current codes. Would this require somebody to upgrade their entire property to the latest? Or would it be true for the codes that were in effect when the structure was permitted?
If the structure is built to the codes that were in place or not there at that time. So I wouldn't say that, okay, now you have to put a whole new roof, you know, those types of things. The biggest thing in that situation would be water, septic, you know, now that, you know, if the septic, we have a lot of properties in town that don't have any record of what is in the ground. So at that point, there would be a process where they would have to prove to us via a septic design, an state approved design, that it can be done, you know, that it meets those requirements. So those types of things would be more immediate. If there's not, you know, smoke detectors or something like that, that would definitely be a conversation.
That's a state law that if you rent the property, it must have AC with battery backup. It has to. That's no matter what your code was when you built it. If you rent it, that you have to meet.
That's reasonable. Okay. All right. And then finally, I just want to express my thanks for what obviously is an incredible amount of effort here in a subject that is just plain difficult because of all the considerations. And I didn't know how much time you spend as I listened to the conversations here. It's obvious that the committee and the other people that worked on this put a lot of effort in. Well, I'm sure not everybody will be delighted. I think that the townspeople should at least be very grateful and open-minded for the effort that you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are townspeople as well.
And another one in the back there.
How you doing?
Evening.
Rick Dame. I got a question on 400. It says short-term rentals, but then it also says retail businesses and services. And then under rural, it says no. Oh, residential? Okay. Can you explain that to me? So residential, you can't have a,
Yeah, the thought process behind that, Rick, was that the residential section is the really compact area, basically in the center of the village area. And as the word goes, thickly settled, we've all seen that before. We just felt that wouldn't be the best
and
area.
I thought it said rural and I was like,
No.
that kind of threw me.
No,
off on
rural
that.
out in
I
the
was like
woods,
going,
you can do it.
okay.
Yeah.
The next question I have is on how would you address short-term rental when they don't have a well? There's a lot of cottages that just have lake water.
I believe that's another rule the state has. If you rent it, you must have a well. You're not allowed to pump the lake.
Really? You know how many people on these small lakes don't have wells that rent them out short-term? That rent them out weekly, monthly? You're taking out a good majority of anybody renting on Half Moon Lake. Probably Sunset would be the other one,
Hills.
Hills. I mean,
But it is
You
state
know.
law.
Yeah.
but you know, going in that you have lake water.
Art, what it says is that the dwelling is not served by public water supply. Documentation must be provided prior to issuance permit for a test of total coliform and E. coli, showing the absence of those. So the other option there is a filtering system that would provide
And
clean
chlorination.
water. Using, if someone wants to go to that and use lake water, but put in a filtering system that would provide that. We are responsible for them being provided potable water.
Even though this has been,
I understand.
people come up for years, 50 years
But
or more.
And you know what I know about a lot of those now? They don't drink the lake water.
No one drinks the
No one
lake.
drinks lake water.
You know, everyone knows it's lake water. You only got to drink it once and you know what? It's, you drink it once, you're not going to drink it again.
Right, so then a reasonable requirement to have potable water available to someone who comes here from, I've had people call me and say, geez, we came up, we rented a cottage, we drank the lake water and everybody was sick. But they're not from around here.
Well, I grew up
So
and bringing gallon jugs of water from Main Street to Half Moon Lake so people could drink it. Is that potable water?
What comes from Harmony Park is, if that's what.
I'm just saying, if
That's
you,
town
if
water.
you gave a 5-gallon bottle of water and hooked it up to a bubbler, is that potable water? Do you,
It's potable water, yes. Does it meet the, what?
does that meet your requirements?
Very good question at the moment. No. We'll ask that.
But I think that's what the selectmen's judgment is going to have to call for.
There's a two-stage here. This is the initial ones. The selectmen will be handling the permitting process. At that point, I'm not going to say yes or no because I'm not in a position to do so. But we all, there has to be potable water available.
There's plenty in the store. There's
But-
5-gallon.
but-
What I'm saying is
And that
it's,
seems to be, but that is not the onus for ensuring that the potable water is available somehow is on the owner of the property. You want to get a permit to have it, you have to, this is a requirement. You've got to say, I have this available by this method.
okay. My next question is, you're a busy man. Let's just say there's a lot of people. Are we hiring, is the town hiring another code enforcement
No.
officer? You have enough time to respond within,
Let's put it this way, he will not be responding on a daily basis. If something happens after hours, it will be called into the police and it will trickle down to him. And or the police will have the contact number of who that is. And they could say to the contact person that needs to be within a half hour, you need to get here, we have an issue.
okay. And is it one inspection or is it many inspections? Meaning, does the fire department come out or are you the one that inspects?
We haven't, there would be more than likely be a joint inspection. Or I would be doing the inspection. We'd have a list of criteria to go by. It's simple enough.
Okay.
As well, the selectmen will have bullet points to their requirements.
Now let's talk about private roads. And I did look up a little bit. If it was permitted house and it's on a private road, does that also have to go in front of the selectmen to get approval?
Yeah.
Even though that you have a house and you have parking and you have, well, I just don't understand
The purpose
that.
of the permit is to ensure that where your private or public road is still affecting the surrounding neighborhood.
Yeah,
Affecting the town.
I don't, if I can just interject real quick, I don't think that the selectmen would need to deal with the private road issue. They'll just deal with the issues that are part of the short-term rental,
The use of the property.
the use of the property and how it's used. The road is incidental, because, you know, people need to leave their property accessible for fire apparatus, ambulances, the list goes on. So,
We specifically talked about this too, because the town still faces liability in a situation like that potentially too. So even though it's a private road, it doesn't dismiss the concern we had regarding liability for the town overall.
Well, how about Varney Road? What do you think about that? Is that accessible or not?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay.
If you had a fire at your house, the fire trucks would get there.
Yeah, they have
to be. I know. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
So what are you looking at? You're talking about a trail? Is that what you're talking about that wouldn't be approved?
Well, let's put it this way, you know, I imagine someone was gonna go out, once this application for a permit is done, to take a peek at the property. And if there are concerns, I think there will be enough latitude in the policy that they can do it, say, hey, you know, you can't get there unless it's a four-wheeler. You know, I mean, so I don't think that scenario is what will.
Or if they're 10 tent platforms. You know, I mean-
And let me talk about tents right away. We have two sections in the zoning, we have a section of the zoning order that addresses tent sites. They're not in a campground. They are not allowed to be rented. They're not to be used as such. Period. So that's not if you got a campground, then you rent out tents. But you don't. This doesn't allow that. There's also someone says, well, it's not a tent, it's a bunkhouse, it's got a platform, whatever. And the bunkhouse portion of the zoning ordinance is also very specific that it is only for private use. It is not to be rented.
Well, that's not my issue. But I would like to have you address at some point the potable water. Because I think that's a big thing for people that are on the smaller lakes.
And I
If you
agree-
provide
I agree
a
with you.
bubbler, you 5 gallons of water, I don't know, something that needs to be done on that.
Well, the state
because-
has flow rates for the amount of bedrooms per, so, you know, let's a 3-bedroom house requires 3 gallons a minute.
Well, doesn't the water have to be good enough to at least cook with?
And that, as Rick said, that is something, and we can address that through the permitting process.
Right.
Because that's a
Because-
conversation on an individual basis they have with the select.
I mean, I
Yeah.
grew up here. You use the water, I'll be honest with you. If you're gonna cook corn on the stove, you pull it from the lake.
'Cause
You
you
boil
boil
the
it.
corn, you boil it, and that's what it is. I mean, if you gotta, I mean, it just.
Take a
there'd be
shower,
little bit
that's
of-
okay too.
That's all
Yeah.
lake water. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, if you know it going in, you know it coming out. I mean, it just,
But the part of the problem is we have people, and like I said, I have received letters from people who said, you know, the water wasn't potable. But it was from the lake, but they're from places where they have no concept that.
then put it where it's, when they're renting it, they know exactly.
They
what
turn the
get.
faucet on, it's there.
You know, you're in New Hampshire. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Good point.
See, that would jump to, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But would jump.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
One. No, he was talking about-
Don't be shy.
Yeah. So he was talking about.
Okay, come on up.
talking about this three.
Seen her before.
I don't normally come up here though.
Oh.
So I introduce myself.
Sure.
My name's Amanda Conley. I live in Alton Bay. I have short-term rentals and long-term rentals. And I do real estate full-time. I've read through the ordinances that are in place. I think they're pretty reasonable. I'm a little concerned about the road waiver for the private road. In the sense of like who gets authority to approve it or not approve it. I only have one Airbnb that's on a private road, but my husband maintains it ourselves. So it's not like I have a concern about whether we're gonna be hurting the road or doing that. We repair it ourselves and take the responsibility on.
Also, you can look at the Colonel Clough road inventory.
Yep.
And that might give you information. I don't know, but
And I can give you a copy.
Okay.
So you can see what the.
So, yeah, I know there's a couple others that do short-term rentals on our road. And they tend to block the road. So like when you were talking about, like, can the fire department get there? So we always make sure, like, we cut the bushes back, make sure that it's super wide so that there was an emergency or the fire trucks could get up, but they don't have ample parking and they park all over the road.
And they're gonna have to.
So all summer, there's always an issue because you can't get to our property because, you know, they're blocking it. We check our water every year. We do a water test with Seacoast Analytical. So, I mean, it's $100. It's relatively easy. And then I also can ensure my clients who are renting from me, you know, here's a copy of the water test so that I'm not telling them it's drinkable or not drinkable. Like, here's a copy of the water test. You make your own decision from there. Similarly with septics, again, we keep all of our stuff very clean and tidy. But one of ours does have an older septic system. We, same thing, inspect it every couple of years. So again, who is it that's coming in to inspect it? Is it just a licensed septic installer who's going to do what they normally do, like when a house sells and says, this is operable, you know, or how intense, you know what I mean? Like, and again, I would think that would just need to support the bedroom count. But if it's an older system that is still working well, you know, they going to still enforce us getting a new septic plan that has to be on file? Or if it's an oldie but a goodie, you know, and it's working, is that going to be enough to kind of continue to pass through? So just kind of thoughts, concerns. Everything else seemed.
Doesn't the application require that somebody has proper parking so that if you don't have, if
Yes.
they're parking on the road, they're not going to get a permit?
Right.
Yeah, and the occupancy is only 2 people per bedroom,
Right.
not 10.
I think that's a valid point. I know some towns do it based on square footage. When I was doing some research, some towns do it like, if it's 2 bedrooms, it's 2 times 2 plus 2. So they give them like a 2-person buffer, which I think is reasonable, but a 2-bedroom that sleeps 10, 12, 18
No.
seems, you know, a little extreme, but you know, a 2-bedroom that sleeps 4 plus 2 is 6. I don't think that's unreasonable to ask. Yeah, as you go through kind of finalizing it. That's it.
And that the septic also was one of the concerns because we're looking at some of these ads and they're saying, oh, it sleeps 12. And I know that it's a 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom house.
Right.
Or maybe a 2.5 or whatever, you know,
Right.
but still some of these get loaded. And a lot, and I know several that are, I know the septic system's less than 30 feet from the lake.
Right. Or does it even have a septic system?
It doesn't have.
Well, you know, you also can dye those if you have a concern and
And monitor it, yeah. Yeah, okay, so that was just, like I said, a little bit of my concerns. It seems reasonable, but interested to see, would this go into effect as of,
it's up to the voters.
so if it gets approved in
It'll
February.
be March. It'll be
March.
immediately approved, but it will be then up to the Board of Selectmen to do the permit.
process.
Yeah, to decide what they want to see.
So would it be in effect for this, like people who are, because I'm thinking of all the people that have already started to book contracts for the 2023 season.
It'll be in effect for,
So that's my point,
23.
is that be prepared for this summer.
Once
Yep.
the selectmen have their.
If you're legal, you're going to be protected.
Yeah, I mean, just
Just-
all of our properties were.
and just so you know, a select board member was a member of this committee as
Yep.
well, to make sure that they were apprised of what we're doing.
And you don't foresee this process taking too long to get these all approved, that people will be able to open? I'm thinking like of all the seasonals, like,
Well, that's what,
It'll be up to the Board of Selectmen.
that was the point I was gonna make. Maybe the Board of Selectmen should be working on this, even though it hasn't been approved. Because, I mean, when you start looking for a reservation in March, they'll say, yeah, next year.
Well, well, March for this company is, you're late.
And the other shoe is when she tells them, yeah, you can be there in July, and all of a sudden the selectmen put in a stipulation that rules her out.
right,
Now
Now-
she's gonna get in trouble with the people that she suggests she rented to. So perhaps,
My
perhaps the selectmen do need to be,
aware.
I mean, we gave them a lot of,
Because a lot of people book like that this last summer for the next summer.
Right.
I don't operate that way. I do it pretty much, I'm writing contracts now. So I went through my contract and your rules and said, okay, is there going to be any concerns? And one of them is that it meets all town and zoning ordinances. So if you put something in that there was an issue, I could do it, but I meet, you know, we do all of those things already that I don't foresee an issue, but my concern would be, again, okay, it gets voted on in March. By the time the selectmen get through the process, now we're talking, I don't know, maybe 60 days. Now we're talking March to April, April to May. Now you already have people that are operating seasonally who open May 1st. And then what happens with the permit process? So,
See us not just flat out saying, no,
no, right.
you know, that's not reasonable either.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's, at least have to be working with each other.
Yep.
And I think the selectmen, you know, their liaison to this committee will, if we need to talk again, we'll talk again.
Sure.
So they really feel the nerve that we had on this, so they understand what we were thinking.
They hear from the public too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Any more conversation on number one?
We should motion this to the ballot. At this, once we've reviewed it.
Excuse me, Scott, do we need to make any adjustments for the water and check on different?
I think that's
possible
will be
changes?
fully in the selectmen's purview. I don't feel that we need to change the nuts and bolts of this at all.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman, on article number one, I move amendment number one, pardon me. I will move it to the ballot.
I second it.
Any further discussion?
Who made the motion? You got
Scott
to,
made the motion.
Bill,
Lee made,
yeah, well, you got to read it into this mic so that the
Scott made the motion, Bill seconded it. Bill O'Neill. seconded it.
transcriber doesn't know this.
Lee seconded.
Oh, Lee seconded.
Yeah.
My mistake. Lee Hillsgrove seconded. All in favor?
I,
No opposers.
number two.
Number two. Read the red. I read the red section here.
You could open it up to the board. Maybe one of the board members might want to give a brief.
Mr. Bover.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Well, I wasn't following either, but she corrected me. It's probably the same. Scott, would you care to read amendment number two?
got drafted.
Yeah, the red part.
Yeah.
Okay, to amend Article 200 definitions by amending the following definitions: dwelling unit, hotel, motel, and by removing dwelling unit, CCRC continuing care retirement community, and to amend Article 300 general provisions, Section 331 continuing care retirement communities, CCRC, and Article 400 zoning district regulations, Section 413 special exceptions to correct the use of the term dwelling unit. And I think I'd like to recognize Jessica would probably be the best one to
Read the rationale.
the rationale.
Yeah.
You mind?
No, okay, so I'll read the rationale for it. So the purpose of this housekeeping amendment is to clarify and correct the use of the term dwelling unit relative to various other forms of housing. So this amendment number 2 came into play with reviewing all of the items listed in the zoning ordinance that was related to this new short-term rental. We then realized that there were some inconsistencies throughout other definitions that didn't match sort of the terminology used throughout short-term rental. So these items in amendment number 2 kind of clean up everything so that everything's consistent. So it's really just a housekeeping amendment.
net result is no changes in,
It really
It's
doesn't.
just to have the language all congruous.
Right.
Because before we had many different things and the special exceptions would have a refer to it as such, and then in the zoning ordinance would be such, and then somebody else would call it this. So we're just putting it all together. So everybody is on the same playing field. We have any conversation here about this? How about the public, Raj?
We'll take some public input on this, if there is some.
I mean, this is just common sense.
Housekeeping, basically.
All right, seeing,
I would make a motion to.
Oh, he's got to close public.
Oh,
seeing no
sorry.
in the public, we'll close the public on amendment number 2. And we'll look for Tom's motion.
I'll make a motion to move amendment number 2 forward to the ballot.
Scott Williams, second that. You didn't say Tom Hoops made the
Oh,
motion.
no, Tom Hoops.
I said Tom for a motion. All right. So we have a motion by Tom and a second by Scott. Any further discussion? I'll look for a vote to send this to the,
Ask for it. All those in favor?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Number 3.
As everybody can see in number 3 in red, that's the only change.
That was number 3.
Number 3 is on page 5.
Does anybody here have any questions on number 3, the word 2? Deleting in place of
Oh, okay.
5.
If anybody's interested, if you're looking at these just before the next amendment starts, there's a rationale just above it for the motion above it, which explains what it's about.
If there's no more conversation here,
All
Raj?
right, we'll open that up to the public. Seeing nobody wants to discuss amendment number 3.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Williams will move that amendment to put amendment 3 on the ballot in March.
Doug Brown, seconds.
Any further discussion?
Can I just get a clarify as to who seconded that? Because I had 2.
Doug Brown.
Doug Brown. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
I'm going to read it, amendment 4 in.
All right.
To amend amendment number 4, to amend Article 400 zoning district regulations by adding a new section to the recreational service zone, section 423 special exceptions by adding a new section in the rural zone, section 453 special exceptions, and by adding a new section to the residential rural zone, RR, section 464, special exception making reference to section 401 permitted uses, table of uses.
Yep, again, another housekeeping
Yeah.
type amendment.
And you can see what's in red is what is the changes being made.
Is there any discussion here with the board? Open it up to the public. Seeing no public.
Mr. Chair, oh, we do, I'm sorry, Mr. O'Brien.
You gotta get exercise.
Oh, winter, okay.
It goes on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay. With the name O'Brien, what do you mean?
We spoke about this a long time ago. Now, the house up behind me was sold up on Spring Street and originally was the Airbnb, which was the Witch. And the people who bought it are really quite concerned about what's going on. And they want to know if the zoning is going to stay the same. In other words, that zoning is residential.
We're not
Changing any zoning lines at all.
That's what I told.
Zones have to be changed at town meeting.
Yeah,
But I
well,
mean-
that's why,
Yeah, we're not altering zones.
no, that was their big concern. And they've, they see me out walking, they'll say, oh, I'm going to sell my place. They're already riding all over it. Well,
I told them that, if they sell their place, please don't think you can sell it for the Airbnb.
It's.
You know what I put up with
Yeah, I know what you
before.
mean. No, we're not changing the zone,
No.
how the zones are laid out or anything.
Don't stay the same. And like I said, where I came from, I had to go through zoning and it was always, you had to speak to the neighbors and had to be approved by the neighbors before the committee would accept it. So as long as I can reassure them, we're on the right track after what, 2 years now?
Not yet. We're getting there.
Any further discussion from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Williams will move to amend amendment number 4 to move it to the ballot in March.
Seconded by Doug Brown.
Any further discussion? Look. Oh, we got a motion.
Yeah, all
All in
those.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll read number 5 in for you, Raj.
All right, thank you, sir.
To planning board of proposed amendment number 5 to amend Article 400 zoning district regulations by amending section 412 restrictions governing use, section 433 restrictions governing use, and section 443 restrictions governing use by adding the number of structures allowed on a lot for the uses single-family dwelling, duplex, or two-family dwelling, multifamily structure, and townhouse. Jessica?
Again, this is another sort of housekeeping, so excuse me. Housekeeping type amendment that further clarifies the required minimum land area per structure. It doesn't not make any changes to the current regulations. Again, it's just for clarification.
Well, Scott has left us. Anybody else like to talk about it?
I think, again, we've been through this at the board level in multiple iterations.
Anybody from the public? Seeing no public.
Oh, thank you.
What a good man.
Oh. And it's potable.
I bring my own, so when that happens.
All right, we'll close the
Huh?
public and look
Oh, she
for
does, doesn't
a
she? Oh, well.
motion.
It's black. It blended in.
We need a motion. I'll make a motion that we move amendment 5 to the vote.
And
Who are you?
I am Tom Hoops. I think.
I'll second that, Bill O'Neill.
All right. Motion by Tom, seconded by Bill. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye. I do number 6, Raj. Planning board proposed amendment number 6 to amend Article 400 zoning district regulations by amending section 433 restrictions governing uses, section 443 restrictions governing use, section 452 restrictions governing use, and section 463 restriction governing use by clarifying the access to each lot via the required street frontage for each district with other districts.
So again, just another housekeeping amendment, just to make each zone consistent with the other zones that already required that.
Any further discussion from the board?
Yeah, I have a little bit. Because I have a bad memory. Purpose of this amendment further clarifies whether the access to a piece of property may be required to be consistent across all zones. So is that saying that all zones have to have the same frontage?
No, it's saying that all zones have to take your access from whatever required frontage there is.
Oh, okay.
See, because at one point, I can give you an example. Someone on 11D was trying to claim the frontage on Route 11 to do a subdivision. And we said at that point in time that the frontage had to be on where you're going to gain the access from.
All right, so that's what that says.
Correct. Yep.
So any discussion from the board or does, other than mine? Good. Any discussion from the public? Seeing no discussion from the public, we'll close the public and look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Williams, amendment number 6, I will move the amendment to the ballot in March.
I'll second that. Lee Hills go.
Lee Hillsgrove. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll look for all in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. You're doing so well here, Scott.
Okay, planning board proposed amendment number 7 to amend Article 400 zoning district regulations by amending section 451 permitted uses by moving the special exceptions and additional conditions criteria to its own section by adding section 453 special exceptions and section 462 permitted uses by moving the special exceptions and additional conditions criteria to its own section by adding section 464 special exceptions to be consistent with other districts. Jessica?
Yep, and again, this is just some things that I had found going through the ordinance that were inconsistent in zones. So it's just another housekeeping amendment.
Any further discussion about this from the board?
No.
Any discussion from the public? Seeing no public, I'll close the public and look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Williams, propose on amendment number 7 to move it to the ballot in March.
Second by Doug Brown.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. That does it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just call a point of order. And I asked the board if they wouldn't mind taking a vote to open public input back on amendment number 1, because there was some public input that was emailed to me earlier, and we did not read that into the record.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I will move to reopen amendment number 1 to hear this additional information.
All in
Scott
favor?
Williams made that motion, by the way.
Do we need to vote?
I'll
on
second that.
Yes.
Tom Woods.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I received this email earlier this afternoon. It's from a Michael Scadler. He's an Alton resident at 22 Courtyard Circle. He explained that he thought he was able to attend tonight but was unable to, so he had some following concerns. He wanted to note that there's a definition of owner occupied, but he did not see that referenced in the regulation. So I wonder if that is a consideration where the building would otherwise be considered a residential living unit. It doesn't say that anybody is actually living there. I live in the Lakeshore residential zone, and I see that single family homes are being purchased, converted to quasi duplex, and then advertised as summer rental units by the week. They are investments and owners live somewhere else, and the only use is for rentals. This seems more like a business than the single family home use allowed in the district. I wonder how this reflects the spirit of the master plan. The septic systems, I believe, are based on the number of bedrooms. Makes sense in a house where people live, but in the summertime rental, things are a bit freer. Mom and dad, uncles, a bunch of kids. Sleeping can be more casual. So a 4-bedroom house now gets advertised as sleeps 16. Maybe the number of people is a better metric for the load on a septic system. Given the proposed regulation as to permits, how would grandfathered fit in? Obviously, the need for additions is precipitated by the abundance of sudden influx of summer house rental business opportunities. what happens to those who rented out last year? And then he thanked us all for our hard work.
I think all but the first phase of his question, I think we've covered. But if you could read the first part of his question there about the
About
residents and who's gonna live there and what they're called.
Occupied.
Yeah,
So the comment again about owner occupied is he did not see it referenced in the regulation.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty.
it's there.
So there was that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
online.
then he said, so I wonder if that is a consideration where the building would otherwise be considered as a residential unit.
Well, it still would be considered a residential unit because it's a residential use.
Correct.
So,
Yep. And he said it doesn't say that anybody is actually living there.
well, as we discussed in this thing, that if the owner is not on site, they must have a contact person that can respond.
Correct.
And I think
Yeah.
that part's been covered.
Right, which would be covered in the permitting process.
Correct.
That's why in all the discussions, B and B, there was anything that's owner occupied. There's never been a problem with.
No, because it's an owner occupied. I mean,
Now, if you guys could vote to close public input again,
should we reopen it in
Or if you
case,
wanna-
I think we ought to let the public
have any more?
go
anything
in
else?
case they want to, yeah, yeah,
Open the public to comment on
on
this
those
letter,
issues if
if
it's anything.
there's any comments.
Quick question. I had someone.
Can you come up?
On it, Amanda.
Yeah.
Because I'm already up here right now.
We remember
I
you.
had somebody approach me in town, who has like a cottage community that they've had for 3 generations. Are they still gonna be required to go through this entire process, or is there any grandfather rules?
That's a different.
That's
Because it's
different,
running as a
different
business.
animal altogether.
Because it's running as a business, it's treated completely separately.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure.
Good question.
Someone had a cabin colony.
An existing.
Would they need to get permitted to still operate their cabin colony?
And the answer is no.
And that's a process, something we're gonna be working on next year as cabin colonies, because we all realize that a lot of our summer rentals have turned into McMansions. And there's no place to go for the transient people that just want to come for a week or two. So that's what we're gonna be working on that next year. And if you want to come join us.
No, we need people with knowledge in serving on committees.
How did I get here?
No knowledge. We just fell in.
You ran for that. Because we told you to be here.
Roger,
All right.
good. Close it.
All right, we'll close the public. And did that last one get moved? We're all set with the
Yeah,
amendments?
yeah, we don't have to change our vote. I'm glad we heard it and we've covered his bases really quite well, I think.
I think so.
Right.
So that portion of the zoning ordinance stuff is over. So if you only came for that enjoyment. Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Go west, young man. Or north.
No, go north. Go north.
Supposed to be on vacation, dedication, come in
Okay.
while you're on vacation.
Continue.
Meeting where there's questions.
We got to. Use this the case. This one, right?
We thank you, John.
Yeah, thanks, John. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
Son-in-law and. Arizona.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
you're getting all of them.
Great.
Hawaii, Arizona.
It's gonna drop the heat too.
See you, Benjamin. Take it easy. Good to see you. Remember us next year.
Hey, good
Yeah.
luck. I'll be looking up, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I said, yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta look where you look way up the hill.
Yeah, I haven't looked. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I almost thought it would have been the house before on the other side. I mean, that's a possibility too.
Okay.
Really.
All right. Okay, we're gonna move along now.
Life is all lighted up.
Okay.
Take care, Mr. O'Brien.
If everybody could grab their meeting schedule for next year. Going to for a motion to accept the meeting schedule.
I'll move to accept the meeting schedule as presented.
I'll second
Scott
that.
Williams said that.
Tom Hope seconds it.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and we thank Jessica for putting it together.
All right. Now we can move on to case T 22-37.
14. We have to address that. Would you like me to address that?
14.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, that's the one that we had to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
All right, hang on, Keith.
I have some explanation on that as well.
All right, we're gonna go with case P 22-14. The applicant has proposed to continue the existing excavation pit operation. A continuance for public hearing was requested to March 23rd. Planning board meeting, March 2023 planning board meeting, which we approved these minutes so we can make a date specific.
Can I just, can we either shut that door or
Yeah, I'll get it.
if there's too much background noise, none of this gets recorded. So I'm not being picky. It won't get captured. Thank you, Scott.
Don't lock it. That's good enough. We can hear, it cuts out the noise.
It don't have to be closed all the way.
So, Mr. Chair, to further elaborate on their request to continue their application to the March 21st, 2023 planning board meeting. There was some correspondence from Tom Varney. He stated that he was still waiting on a response for the alteration of terrain permit. He submitted the application on November 1st and they have not received a response yet. He said he'd hopefully would have a response by March. And this also would give them time for NHDES AOT department if they asked for more information. Further, Mr. Babb said he also needed more time to file and acquire the special exception of a contractor's yard and revise the reclamation plan. So those were the two reasons as to why they were asking for a continuance to March.
And I concur, AOT is horrible.
A timing standpoint,
Horrible.
from a timing standpoint, you're saying?
Timing point, yeah. I mean, they said 45 days. Well, that was 6 months ago.
Are they that busy? I mean,
I don't know. I don't hang out there. So I'll, Scott Williams will move that to continue the public hearing to the March
21st.
21st planning board meeting,
2023.
2023.
I'll second that. Bill O'Neill.
Tom almost had to speak to you.
Well, no, but you saw those minutes where the blanks were.
further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Should I have made that where I have recused myself on this case?
You could make a motion.
Okay, I just didn't want to
I mean.
have the
prefer like it
proverbial
would be
egg.
cleaner if
So,
you-
I don't see a problem on a continuation.
I agree, yeah. So the next case, 22.
You're moving things
Three.
along.
Next case P 22-33, changing seasons engineering. They have asked for a continuance for public hearing was requested to January 17th planning board meeting.
And again, to further elaborate on that, Mr. Chair, they asked for the continuance to allow them extra time to complete the items requested by the town engineer, which was the test pits, and the test pits have taken place, and there is a report. So they should be all lined up and ready for the January meeting.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Williams will move to continue the case P 22-14 to the January 17th.
33.
33, pardon me. I'm sorry, P 22-33 to the January 17, 2023 meeting.
I'll second that, Lee Hills Road.
Lee Hills Grove. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Now, Keith.
now it's case P 22-37. Riper Doobie LLC.
Keith Doobie.
What do we do, B?
Well, it says you want to approve to adding 2 structures to the self-storage facility. Could you explain what you have in mind?
Can I interrupt first?
Sure.
There's the section on this front page that I would like the board to address. There was a submission and there was a request that was submitted by the applicant to obtain, to keep their occupancy, to obtain their occupancy upon completion of the first 2 storage units that they got approval for back in March. And they didn't want that contingent upon the 2 additional structures that they're asking for. So technically, that's a phased plan. And a phased plan request should be submitted at the design review phase. And since the notices went out as just 2 additional structures and it wasn't noticed as a phased plan, according to the regulations, if that doesn't take place, they would have to come back in for a design review all over again. So as I've written in here, there are a couple of things that can take place. The applicant, well, obviously, the board could deny the application, which is not my recommendation. The applicant could rescind their request. As I had stated earlier, they could move forward with this plan proposal as they've asked for. And at a later date, if they find that, you know, the 2 structures are sufficient, then they could come back for an amendment later on and amend their plan to back to the two structures and get rid of the 2 that they potentially could get approved for tonight. So we've all done a lot of work on this, and I know Keith's very anxious to move forward. It's just, you know, the regulations state that if it's a phased plan, it needs to go through the design review first, because the plan doesn't reflect phasing. So the board couldn't go through tonight and approve a final application
With it phased.
with the presentation that's being, you know, the plan being presented that doesn't include phasing. So that's an issue.
We approved them for 2 buildings and a contractor's yard.
Yeah.
They were approved for that. That's already to one side.
Right.
They're completely approved for that.
Yep.
So to just add two new buildings, I don't understand why they need a whole new phase plan, number 1. Number 2, I would think all they'd have to get would be a building permit, permission from the state. And at the last meeting, we told them all they needed was permission from the fire department, which I think they got on whether there was enough room to bring a fire truck in there.
Right.
So why all of a sudden are we coming up with all these needing new phases?
Well, this is a
Well,
plan, right?
so.
If I said,
It's not
So
a
I'll
new plan.
explain, so I'll
We
explain
already
why.
approved the plan.
Lee, if you can refer to this short little, this piece of paper.
Yeah,
that
I
has
read
little
that.
Blurb. So what they're requesting is to have their approval on the first 2 structures and obtain occupancy permits for that and to move forward with that. And then they're coming in and asking to have these 2 additional ones on a separate a separate occupancy permit. So that's a phased process. So according to your regulations, the site plan regulations, a phased plan needs to be presented at design review. So if this was presented at design review, you guys could be just going forward with the motions tonight on a final approval, but it wasn't. This was added after the fact.
Okay.
I'm
so
just pointing
If
that
I
out.
ever make a couple of comments,
Just, let me just, before you go, let me go. So just so I can come up to speed. So we approved all 4 buildings.
No,
No, we approved two
Approved two.
and the contractor yard.
And the contract.
The contractor shed. So.
we
so
didn't
you're
know about
looking-
another 2 buildings.
What's that?
We didn't know about another 2 buildings.
But it's another 2 buildings that you're looking for.
correct. We have, you guys have the new set of plans, which added the 2 buildings into the contractor space. It doesn't change the original approval of the first 2 buildings and the access getting in.
Right.
Nothing has changed there.
So
The space is coming out of the contractor yard.
in
and the
my
original-
mind, this isn't phasing. This is like a total new application.
When I first, when this all first came up, I approached Jessica on this, and I was under the understanding that this was a brand new major site plan review. And I believe that's how it's written, major site plan, not an amendment. So if this was an amendment, I could understand that the contingency of occupancy, having built the second 2 buildings, part of the first 2 buildings. But if this is a major site plan review, something totally separate, I don't see how the 2 are tied together. If I go ahead and I build my house, and then a year later, hey, let's add a garage onto it for my in-law apartment or whatever, that's a different permit. And it shouldn't change the occupancy of that house. This would be the same thing. I have the permits already for the first 2 buildings, which are now under construction. And now I'm looking for another permit for the next 2 buildings. And all the information that we all went over on the design review, the design review application, everything's already been completed. The stormwater management was all set. The state was all set. Now the fire department's all set. Everything has already been done. Nothing is changing. Now, I was under the understanding that this was a major site plan review, not the amendment. So that's why I never followed through with asking for a phased plan. The reason why I want a phased plan is, we're putting a lot of our retirement into this. And we don't know whether they're going to rent. We're hoping they will. Everyone tells us they will, but we don't know that.
They will.
If we don't rent them, we don't have the money to build these next 2 buildings. So I don't want the contingency of these to be on that. Now, if they are contingent come springtime, now I have to find a contractor to put in concrete. It's going to take me how long? You guys know. It's going to take me months to get a contractor in there. And then it's going to take me a minimum right now of being paid at least 8 months to get buildings in. So we're a whole nother year before I can get occupancy on something that I'm tying up hundreds of thousands of dollars into.
Right. Let me just interject here for a minute. So basically what you're looking to do is get an occupancy permit on the 2 buildings that you've built.
Already been approved though, yes.
Already been
Come
approved.
springtime, we have to finish the dirt work and put in the gate and a few different.
So is that why we're here discussing this? Is because you
No.
want occupancy, but
So what I'm looking
now you're
for,
talking about 2 other buildings?
what I'm looking for now, and I plan on building these next 2 buildings. But I want to get the permits as soon as possible. So when we are ready and the money is coming in, we can reinvest that money into the other 2 buildings.
Right.
I don't
I-
want to wait until then because it took us 2 years to get the permit for the first 2 buildings. I don't know how long it's going to take for these. So I'm trying to do the application prematurely, so I have it in hand and ready to go. And I plan on getting them done over the course, if like the plans, the rules of the town say, once the chairman signs off on the board, on the plans, I have 12 months to start construction. I have 24 months to complete construction. Yeah, I plan on starting the construction within 24 months. Within 12 months. But I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it started right away, come springtime. And even if I were to be able to get somebody in there right away springtime, it would still be a whole nother year before I could get occupancy.
Now, what are we?
So I
talking
just don't
about?
want-
Talking about the first 2 buildings? Or are you talking about the
First 2.
First 2
first?
buildings.
So those haven't even been built yet.
They're in process.
They're in process
In
right now.
process.
Concrete's down, the buildings
Okay,
are
all
going.
right, so you're not looking for a concrete guy anymore because you got the concrete.
No,
So-
but I
So
want to say
you were
that,
approved- You were approved for two buildings. You came in, you got a site plan, you did the site plan, you got approval for two buildings, and you got approval for the contractor yard.
correct.
I'm not seeing the issue here.
Okay, can I clarify a little bit more?
Please.
You're gonna have to.
So there was a letter that was submitted with the application. It was from Scott Lawler, who was project engineer, that did the plans. The letter is addressed to me and the planning board members, and it says Norway Plains Associates authorizes the use of its plans for the purpose of an amendment to the approved major site plan application for Keith Doobie of Piper Doobie LLC. So the request is an amendment to the major site plan. Major site plan applications require design review to take place before a final application comes in.
So
And on top of that, this letter got submitted at the final application, which it should have been submitted at design review, because it's requesting a phased plan. So even though this is an amendment to a major site plan, the requirement is design review. You can't waive that. So that's why he had to come in for design review on an
Remember-
amendment
But
At
didn't
one
I
point,
fill
and then
out,
a final.
but didn't I fill out the paperwork for major site plan and pay for that?
You filled out the paperwork for the design review, which you came in, and then you came in for that final site plan.
And it's under major site plan review.
It's
That
the
was
same
paperwork
thing.
that- It's the same thing.
Whether it's an amendment to the final site plan. It's a final
I think-
major site
I mean,
plan
I would
review.
think if.
I think this is a-
an Amendment, it would be an amendment paperwork, not a major site.
We
plan
don't have
review.
separate amendment paperwork. So this is the request.
I
It's an
think-
amendment.
if you remember, when you came in for your first review, I says, go for what you think you may want in the end. And if you had done these buildings at that time, we wouldn't be here talking about it.
I think it's a
You know.
wording problem.
Well, it's,
Exactly, that's all it is.
Because basically, there's no reason why you can't finish those buildings and get a building permit. That's what you want to do.
Right.
Okay. You still have to come, because now you want to build two more buildings. Well, we've had no talk about that, so you have to come back and talk about it.
And
So that's a whole, so you got to do the design review,
And he did,
and so you get
but
on the two.
on these two additional, yes, he came in October.
But
They
the-
did, they
the
came in
difference-
October.
The difference
But
is
they
that-
didn't request this. I want occupancy on the first two, and then I want occupancy potentially on the second two at a later date.
when it
That's
happens.
phasing.
That kind
Not
of
if
ties
it's-
our
not if
hands
it's
in
two
legally.
different
basically.
Yeah,
sites.
with
It does. We've got regulations that we have to abide by.
That's two different site plans.
In essence,
Why don't you just back
In
out
essence,
your
it's two
amendment?
different Site plan, so he should be able to get occupancy.
Right, but
on
what,
The first two buildings.
yeah, he should be able to do that.
yeah,
That's there.
That's
And
what they're
this be
saying.
in
They're saying
process
he
to get the
can't.
next two approved. And
but what was being said was that we can't approve something tonight, but he can make an application tonight and next month, we can deal with it?
He would have to come back in for design review.
Oh, okay.
Why can't we give him an occupancy on the first two
he
buildings?
can,
Because he's coming in for an amendment.
yeah,
So he's amending his approval.
But that shouldn't bother his-
You can't do it.
Shouldn't bother his first two buildings that we approved.
yeah, that he should be able to get I feel he should be able to get the COs on those two buildings because that's all approved. He can't do anything on the next two buildings until we do it. That's how I would see it, but
I think we
Because he
need a
already
legal
has a major
interpretation of
site
that,
plan
though.
For the first two buildings, the water, the drainage, the ponds, everything's all taken care of. Fire department, everything's taken care of.
Right. I'm
On the
just
next
here.
two buildings, okay, if he's gotta do another little site plan on it. Oh, he should be able to get occupancy on the first two.
I mean, ultimately, it's up to you guys to decide how you want to move forward. I'm here to just lay out the regulations to keep you guys on track so that things don't come back and bite you. It's, ultimately your decision as to how you want to move forward. I laid out
Well, what could come back?
what I feel like the interpretation of these regulations are. And, it's up to you guys to move forward with however you choose to.
I mean, to go back to site plan review, design review, nothing will change. The paperwork's already been submitted. you're gonna take this paperwork that I've already given, the whole thing, the letters I've sent in, the stuff that Scott Lawler sent in, the state sent in, the fire department, you're gonna take it from here. You're gonna move it to January 17th and nothing will have changed. It's still all the same paperwork. It's all the same stuff.
It's understood, but the reality is it calls for a phase, the
Yeah.
phase.
Oh, it is.
Yes, it does. If
Yeah.
you want to expand beyond the two buildings
Those-
that were
So,
approved.
so if you build a house,
That's
if
the
I sell you
Well,
some
wait,
property and you build a house.
Hang on, you can't use a house as a revenue because this is commercial.
Right.
They're two different ball games.
But if these are completed, let's say I'm hoping by Labor Day that we are,
Labor Day.
Memorial Day, sorry.
Hmm.
I'm hoping by Memorial Day, we're completed, by then I will.
On all four buildings?
No.
No,
On
just
the two
First two
buildings?
buildings. So John comes down, wonderful job,
Aren't they pretty?
looks great, looks pretty. Here's your occupancy permit. Now, I come down, I want to get two more buildings.
You've already got all your paperwork done.
Yeah.
I
you-
wouldn't wait till then. Just, I'd pull all your
The
stuff back.
problem with that is, by the time I get everything lined up, order buildings and everything else, it's gonna be a whole nother year before those buildings would go up. Where if I get the permits for them now, then I'll be ready to go,
Yeah, that makes all the sense.
If you,
Trying to line things up. Plus, there is a strip, if you guys remember in the first plan, there's a 4-foot wide landscape strip. It's got some bushes and it's a delineation between the contractor space and the roadway in. And that's basically where the buildings are going. They're going into the contractor side of that. So I'm eliminating that landscape with bushes and crushed stone, and just putting the buildings there. So I'm trying not to put money into that just to rip it up again a month later, after I get occupancy. So I'm just trying to do,
Well, you have to do that to get the occupancy because that's part of the first plan. So you have to put it in.
I think, as Jessica's outlined here, probably is the way for him to go, because I think that the phasing would be the proper way to do it, but that would allow him to get occupancies on the first batch of stuff. And then if we had this approved, by the time he's going to that and the shrubbery is eliminated, you say, well, okay, the reason the shrubbery is eliminated because phase 2, that's going in its place. And so I don't think he'd need to put the shrubbery in once he has this phased approach.
But they're saying that he can't get an occupancy permit without doing another.
All right, so here's the.
No, if he phases it, he can get occupancies.
Okay, so here's the next
Correct.
question. Here's
That's
the next
exactly
question.
what she
We're
said.
talking March before you're gonna get occupancy permit anyway. Why is there not time to
There is time.
remedy this whole phasing thing? Just run it in again with the phasing and be part of the.
As frustrating as the rules are, so we got to follow them.
Yep.
And if we don't like them, we should change them.
I know as much as it pains me to write this up, I'm here I have to protect the board and I have to protect the town.
I mean, I just feel that going through this now, it wasn't clarified from the beginning what we had to do and what we had to go through, I mean, this was supposed to be very simple, just to add 2 buildings to something that was already approved. And I was told we were going to a major site plan review. So I was under the assumption that this was a separate permit from this permit, not tied together, but
So
separate.
amending
That's
the
what I was-
first permit you have.
That's what I was
Right.
told, that this is a separate permit. It would be no different if once I have occupancy, you're not going to tie the next 2 buildings to the first 2. You're just gonna,
And the
you're gonna
phasing
you're gonna
will
set up a
eliminate
new
all that. The phasing, if you phase this and make these other 2 buildings part of phase 2, go to phase 1, get it built out, get your COs, be happy, get the cash coming in. And that nothing says that you have to ever build those 2 buildings. If
Right.
you decide you don't want to do it, you just scrap it,
But you've got the permit in your hand.
but you have the permit in your hand. Or if you decide to sell it, someone else will want that permit and you have something to sell.
so I mean, now if we're gonna have to go through design review again, is this gonna be more cost, more permits, more copies? more
Noticing,
everything?
there will be
Or we're just
noticing.
Taking all this paperwork and just moving it over and that's.
So that's an answer that the board would have to provide you. I mean, I would be in agreement. I would be in agreement with just paying for the noticing in the newspaper and the noticing to the abutters.
Since it's
And
so
and sort
close.
of waiving the application fees.
Yeah.
I,
Okay,
And I agree. I don't think you
would
can
be-
get away
would
from
Be comfortable with that. It's.
us to notify the butters.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a must.
absolutely,
And the public.
Yeah.
absolutely. It's expensive. And, you know, and I can acknowledge, I acknowledge that.
How many abutters is there?
Maybe 6 or 8,
7 or 8.
8-ish or somewhere around there.
They always told me that was the
Yeah.
cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a pain to actually get that notice. I'll tell you, our postal service stinks. And they have come to my house supposedly come to my house 2 times since that notice. And they said they attempted to deliver it to my door. I work from home. They never came to my house. And then I called the post office and person there-
Wendy.
And
Wendy.
she told me that due to COVID, he didn't feel safe to drive down my driveway.
So we missed the meeting with support Keith because we got the paperwork 3 days later.
They didn't put notice in the time. I would say. Not much to care.
It doesn't matter that,
We really can't.
They have to
track
go
it.
out.
I mean, it's,
We have to do it.
yeah, it's frustrating.
And then
If you deal with the post office as much as I did, you'd scratch your head.
well, we'll keep on track here.
Alton people.
Yeah.
I would go to any other town.
All right.
I don't know if
So-
they're any better, but that's all right.
How you feeling? What's going on there, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want the one to be contingent upon the other. That's just. it,
And this
you know,
would not
And it
be
wouldn't.
contingent upon
Because
the
it's
other.
gonna take me a whole year come springtime to be able to start on these buildings and get them completed. So now I've got a whole year that these buildings that I have our retirement into.
We're talking
Think
about a
it makes
2 months
sense.
change.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
not,
It takes a long time. You gotta start ordering stuff now. I ordered the buildings that are going up right now back in March of last year.
I'd stick my
That's a
neck out and
lot.
order them because you always can
Exactly. I would
cancel
say,
it.
why can't you?
Oh, you can't.
No.
I have to give them money up front, a lot of money up front.
Well, I don't see this,
Yeah.
that it couldn't be approved.
30 or 60 days, I see this as being done and improved again.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like you say, all the hard work is done.
I mean, the paperwork basically is done.
Oh, yeah, everything is complete.
So basically, he has to come back for a design review, but it's not a final. So he's gonna do, so he's
Yep,
gotta
he's
come
gotta
back.
come
Gotta
back
do
in
a design
February.
review, then we'll do
Meetings.
the final review.
So the plans need to reflect that phased, that phasing.
Yeah, put a phase line on there.
Yep.
What's a,
A phase, just have him,
Talk to Scott.
Scott will
Scott
know.
Lawler. Or have him call me. And we can chat, but the plans need to reflect.
So he'll change one page, put a line on it.
Yep.
No biggie.
Yeah, it's about as mundane could be.
in
I
what,
provide you
his-
with some
in-
good news?
In his letter, or you gotta?
It has to be on a plan.
On the
Gotta make a
plan.
whole bunch of new
Has-
plans.
Plan
Has
itself.
to be on a plan.
So can I give you some good news? So the check that you provided me for the design review application is actually too much.
Well, there you go.
So I have a copy of what it should be, and I'm gonna give you your check back. So if you can submit that with your new design review application, and I'll take care of that for you. That's all I have.
Don't be frustrated. It's tough.
Yeah.
I understand you. We've been down that road.
That was the check. That's what it should be made out to. 73.
Oh.
Because the board really has their hands in a tied position. I mean, they really just cannot move.
It's just, you know,
Yeah, I don't think you.
you're making copies after copies. I mean, Scott, you know, once these things go,
Yeah, I know, $4 a page.
you know, I mean, they're charging me, you know, 60, 70 bucks each time I make a copy. And I gotta bring in, I don't know, how many copies do I gotta bring in?
So I would like
5
to
full
address
sets
that with
and
the board.
11 by 17.
So the application, the regulations require 5 copies. Would the board be okay if you just brought in the one
One copy and
copy?
11 by 17.
And it's 11 by 17, so at least I have one copy for the file. The board okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
That'll be fine.
All right.
Paperwork Reduction Act.
But we are saying that he can get occupancy on the first two buildings.
Nothing has been changed on his first
Right.
No.
thing at all. And this will not change that either. This would be a phased approach. Just add the phasing to it. So nothing that you've done already will be in jeopardy.
All right, so let's have Scott call you then.
Yes, please.
Scott can have this done by the time he gets off the phone with him. Yeah, you gotta have your stuff in. This is considered a new application, correct?
It would be, yes.
Yep, so you have to have your December 27th. So next Wednesday, Tuesday. Okay,
They're gonna fill out all the new paperwork, all of it.
The design review application, yes.
so the 27th is a drop dead date. Just keep that in mind.
And just so you know, I am on vacation next week, so
Oh,
if,
boy.
no, listen, so if you can still drop it off, if I'm not there,
Make
you
sure
can
it's
drop it
marked.
off in the building office, go to the
It's-
building department. If no one's in the building department, go to the assessing department. Someone downstairs
We'll stamp it.
will
receipt.
accept your application and they'll stamp it in.
All right.
I need a vacation.
Am I doing 11s by 17s or are you doing them? And
I would like 11 by 17. It makes it difficult for me to,
Yeah, just bring her one.
Provide the
and then
large
she can
plan to
put
the
it in
board.
machine and copy them,
okay, great. Yep. One large, one small.
or I can copy them at my house. I have a big printer.
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Good night.
Take it easy.
Sorry, we couldn't give you all the thing you wanted. All right. A master plan hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, January 10th, 2022. There'll be a snow date of Tuesday, January 24th, 2020.
What's the date again?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Yep. that's
As I
what-
read it, let's start that over again.
Yes, please.
Master plan public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. Snow date of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023.
Thank you. And you guys will be receiving an amended master plan that I believe is going to incorporate all of the proposed changes so that you'll have that complete document. I believe that's what Tara's proofreader has been working on. I just need to double check with her and touch base with her before Friday. But I believe you will have a complete document again to look at for that public hearing.
Am I looking under other business?
You are under other business.
Master plan
Business
public
A.
hearing,
Full
Yep.
business, yeah.
Yeah,
and you said January 10th, 2022.
It should be 2023.
I was gonna say, I already
Boy.
been there.
I'd like that time travel, please.
It's a whole nother year away.
So the approval of minutes, we're gonna pass on until the next meeting. Is that?
Is that what you guys want to do?
says
fine by me.
Wait a minute,
Jump at that.
wait a minute. There's one correction that I have
Oh,
and then
Tom.
it's good.
There-
The only correction is that there's a question mark resident. That'd be Lauren Carr.
okay,
he's a
let-
resident.
Let me, wait, where are we?
This is on the November 15,
What page?
second page. On third thing down, it says question mark.
Okay,
That's Loring Carr. Other than that, I have nothing. There's, everything else seems appropriate and I'd approve it.
Where the heck you
Okay.
see that? Page 2,
page 2,
question mark.
second paragraph.
See the little place where it says Chair Carter?
No,
The next line below that.
Oh, I see.
See Drew Carter. Planning board chairman.
4 question marks, second paragraph.
And then further down in the same paragraph, it is the same thing. But that's Loring Carr. He and Dave Hussey were here together.
Yeah.
Only if you wanted to be accurate, that's all.
That be said, then I'll look for approval. of
do
the-
we have a second?
Scott Williams will second it.
Further discussion?
Is Lauren Carr actually, isn't that Robert Lauren Carr?
Yes.
But Robert was his father's name also, so it would confuse everyone.
No, it's junior and senior. So
Yeah, but nobody called him Robert, do they?
He's been Loring since high school.
you want to know what his real nickname was?
No.
No, not public.
Just need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Those minutes
See, we got rid of them.
can.
It was ringing. Those are good
Okay.
ideas.
How about case number P 22-35? Kathleen and Rebecca Johnson. Building permit request on Rhines Road.
I don't know how those lots ever got subdivided the way they show on the tax map.
Which one are you on, Chairman, Mr. Chairman? P,
New business, P 22-35.
East Dalton needs fire department people.
Sure do.
On
Lee,
the
Lee, it
Wolfboro
starts-
side of the bridge or just
Starts with
across?
the Memo to the board. That's.
I'm on the Alton side of the bridge. You can't.
It's boundary line is this brook.
Right.
Yeah.
It's stapled all together. It's like one, should be one packet. Memo to the board.
And it ceases, it's class 6 starting at the old access to the town.
There it is.
So I believe in one of the papers that should have been provided to you. Talking with the highway department, they're saying that that's
Big packet.
950 feet of the road is considered class 6 up until the bridge. They also said they were going to send a memo to the selectmen to see if they would just add that last 950 feet of the class 6 road to just be considered a class 5 road, since they do in fact plow and maintain it.
They plow to the bridge?
They sure do. They use it as a turnaround down there for their equipment.
That's up to the selectmen.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it.
So are you on the right-hand side of the road going to the bridge?
Left.
Left.
The sand pit? Cool.
Doesn't matter.
Can we party?
Already there a lot. Back in the day.
Careful where you dig.
45 years ago.
I was offered those 4 lots for 8,000. That was a few years back.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. You've been there too.
So this must be the land where they shoot?
Not anymore.
Huh?
Not anymore.
Oh, no, I know, but
On the-
talking.
But
The septic lagoon was close by too.
does the town still have the old pit part?
I think they have to keep the lagoon, I think.
Yeah, that's what I would, and the firing space was behind it.
What?
Correct.
Lots of lead pellets. They're hoping to grow.
Correct. Yes.
PD used to do their range shooting up there.
As they still do.
Ada Solu.
They don't, whoever it is, doesn't clean that brass well.
That's not good.
What's everyone thinking here?
So do we need to approve this for moving it to the select?
Yeah, I'm a
Yep,
little,
you would give your recommendation to approve.
I would say send it to the selectmen with, if the approval, what he mentioned, if the town is already plowing to the bridge itself on Beaver Brook, which is just beyond where his driveway is, the town is basically maintaining it.
was that a motion?
That's a motion.
You
Tom
deflected?
moves.
There you go. Scott Williams, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote.
Well, do it. Ask. Aye.
Aye.
You're all set,
That
but
was difficult.
Yeah. Thank you.
You keep doing that to me.
Matt, if you can hold on 1 second, I'll give you that paperwork. This one, actually,
East
I'm
Dalton
gonna
Station is
put
right.
this I'm gonna put this with my, I'm gonna do a.
I can
write-up
give you some
for the
background
selectmen.
history on
I'll
it.
put this in the packet and
Yeah,
then
you will.
they'll sign it and then you'll take
Right
it off.
back to
get
Wayne and Gene
recorded.
Barnes.
Back for that at some point.
So.
Where's the max?
Tomorrow, I'm gonna do a write-up
Pick of
to
the day.
the Board of Selectmen and it will get to them and they'll schedule it. So,
So we,
so you'll be hearing from administration.
awesome. Thank you very much.
If you want background on the East Alton Station, I'll gladly help. 19 years there.
Next, all right.
Okay,
Moving right along.
case number P 22-36 has been continued to obtain a variance.
Whether that's gonna take place or not, I'm unsure. They seemed a little unhappy with the process. They weren't aware of that, so
But
that they may not, this next one, under new business, C. Case P 2236.
yeah,
They have to get a variance and I don't know if they're gonna actually do that and then come back.
that's
They-
the,
that
is
might
that the main
change
parcel that's in there? The like the 16 or 18 acre parcel?
No, they're both small.
I don't have a
There's
30.
So I-
Oh, okay, yeah.
small pieces.
Oh,
They were
And
subdivided up in like a 48 acre.
They need the
piece.
variance before coming here.
I don't know anything about it, but the main parcel, in the middle, they
Then-
filled in the wetlands
Yep.
and nothing's happening.
Correct.
Is that the one where they did off 48 acres or
That's,
something like that?
no, it's 16 or 18 acres. That was, what was that Roy Baxter's pit? That-
Oh,
when
yeah,
They did 28 north.
Baxter. I was wondering how you guys all knew where it was. I see the Baxter place. Okay, here's the one everybody's come for. All right, correspondence for the board's review, discussion, and action. Case number EO 4-21. Final road approval, Chestnut Cove subdivision, Ridge Road map 15, lot 15, continued from November 15th, 2022.
Do we need some type of action on this roadway?
So. So this planner review is very lengthy. When it comes time to final road approvals, you get the whole story of what's taken place with the subdivision.
A lot of stuff going on here.
Which is why, review is like 35 pages long.
Oh,
So
what have you been doing with that?
it's-
Take
it
a little bit of
was-
your time?
she's been sleeping here.
Yeah.
There was a ton of research. The original approval was back, let's see, back in February 18th of 2004. So since 2004, there's been a ton of things that have taken place. So yes, the board, after, review and taking into consideration the recommendation from the town engineer and the public works director would then make a motion as to approve the road as is, as it was built.
And we have an engineer's
Require-
report for that.
Yep, or require additional information.
And then all that repair work was done too.
Correct, yep. So, there was some work done to the road. After the final road approval, after the request to come in for final road approval was done, they had submitted their as-built and then you go out for a final site walk. At that final site walk, it was noticed, why it wasn't noticed before, I don't know, it was before my time. But there was a section of the road that was really steep. And they could either have installed a guardrail or done a build out to
Lessen the slope.
make it, to lessen the slope. they've decided to do that shoulder work to lessen the slope. So that took place. The only thing is that the as-built doesn't reflect that build out. So the board should request that an amendment to the as-built take place so that you have proper up-to-date as-built on file.
Yes. I agree.
That's really my biggest recommendation to the board is to,
And these as-bills are very important. I think that's one place
Yes.
we've been pretty lax in over the years, as as-bills, but they are important.
yep. So.
It's
so-
proof.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
a
it's just
recommendation.
stating what you have.
And the second biggest discussion would be whether or not the board would require a roadway maintenance bond in
Well-
accordance with the regulations.
Well, look what we did on Hopewell Road.
Yep.
That totally blew me away. I mean, the amount of money that they had to come up with, but
Right.
if we've done it there, we've just, and
So can
I
you
hate
give
to
some more
look-
history on that then? Because I'm not familiar with that.
what, Hopewell?
Yeah, correct.
Hopewell, it had been built out for many years, and they wanted to petition the town to accept it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And they had to do a performance bond that would hold in there for a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken,
18
18 months. Against the road holding up, which personally I felt was a little nuts. The road's been there for 10, 12 years, and now the poor guy has to put up more money for the
Was
town
a
to accept the
precedent,
road
you're
to make
saying.
sure it's an act right.
Right.
I mean,
It's a requirement of.
It was a
Yeah.
precedent.
requirement of the
it's a
subdivision.
requirement, and then, that's maybe something we should look at. But we've got to be careful to protect the town. So.
Yep.
Right. Right.
So did we do the same with High Point?
High Point
I
was a
believe
little
so.
different. High Point, there was an issue with a prior planner or someone that was filling in temporarily. That provided the applicant information and was led to believe that they did not have to submit security. So the board did not require that at that time. And we can look back in the minutes if you want to know exactly what took place. But there was a stipulation that was provided to the applicant. It was misinformation and the
Well,
board.
we probably should be sure of that.
Yep, yep, and the board did not feel like it was proper to enforce that at the time because he was given different information. If you want, I mean, I can pull that up for you guys.
Personally, I feel if there's daylight in that rule, we should take it because I just think this is, I mean, they've put up 110% of the job to begin with. And now they come back for, I forget what we charged for Hopewell, but it was thousands and thousands of dollars, many thousands. Like 40, 50, $60,000. It was real money.
So I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at right now.
Is to give the selectmen the green light to approve this, to accept this road. That's our charge here right
I
now.
thought we were pretty much at that point when we
Yeah.
discussed it in the past.
Well, but Jessica just brought the as-bills need to be current.
That makes sense.
Yep,
And I think we should check and see if the performance bond needs to be put in place. Has the top layer of asphalt been installed?
yeah, it's done.
It's
Like,
done.
It's done. The town engineer has put his blessing on it.
So I guess we need to
it's-
just double check
Yep.
what was approved at the time. And we just need to be equitable to everybody across the board.
So I could look back to the last few that we've done and I can
Well, we need to look at this one in particular.
give it, yep.
If it
Well,
does,
how can you,
You
How can
waived that one because he was given wrong information.
and this is an old subdivision, so it might not have been required in there at that point in time.
It is.
It is.
It is in the regulations.
Yeah, but I guess they're in the regulations, but were they in the regulation when the project was permitted? That's the key, because that's the rules we go underneath.
Yes. You can continue talking.
There's nothing more for me to say, unless you want me to talk about Santa Claus.
But I mean, other than, with the maintenance that have been done on the road, the check on it. The number of people who live on the road, I see no reason we
It's
shouldn't.
50% built out.
Yeah, all Yeah, I mean, but I would feel free to recommend to the selectmen that we accept it
pending,
pending the build out.
no, pending the as-built and things of that.
Yeah, well,
nature.
that's not the point. The point we're looking at now is whether or not there's gonna be a bond held.
Well, it has been there a couple of years.
No, this is,
So at the time that this application
is
was
it called?
submitted, it was the August twelfth, 2002 subdivision regulations were in place. And section 8.2 talks about security required. And the security to be determined by the planning board and the amount sufficient to cover 110% of the estimated costs of the construction of roads, drainage facilities, site restoration, et cetera, et cetera. The town shall the warranty period shall be 18 months from the time of substantial completion. So since they're coming in, so when you come in for final road approval through this, if you look at the project closeout, this comes out of the construction observation guidelines. Under the construction observation guidelines, 7.3 talks about security release. And it talks about all major site and subdivision projects will require project financial security or surety in accordance with the town of Alton land use codes. So it does require, require security.
that's the current, and that was what was in place when this was
Placed
approved.
Back in 2002, yep.
Okay.
And then when you come in for final road approval, the project closeout.
That's what I just need to be
requires
clear.
the project security
Thank
as
you.
well.
And that reg stays in place today?
Correct. Yep, the current, the construction observation guidelines are current.
But there's no direction on, or is that right? They're gonna tell us.
So,
what shall
yep.
be.
So, so I went forward and I talked with the town engineer, just so that would be ready for tonight. He did provide a bond estimate on the road. The bond estimate was $38,300. That includes, that inflate that 10% increase.
What is,
Construction costs.
what does that include? What
So
does
you
that?
guys have a copy of this in your packet?
I had my packet, now I lost it.
Yep, it's just one
Okay.
sheet, so. And it gives a breakdown of
Storage.
what was required.
Project closeout?
I'm looking at this, Tom.
Oh, that one.
Still looking.
It's at the bottom.
Yes, got it. Okay.
When he says at the bottom, he means the bottom of the pile. Let me see.
You wanna look at mine?
Oh, yeah,
Let's look at mine. So I just want to note to the board, that originally, this subdivision got passed down from the original developer. The second developer walked away and left the development up to the property owners.
Bud Rose.
So it's the property owners who have designated Pat Torero. I'm sorry, I just butchered your name. They designated her as the agent to talk and to be able to share all of the information to all of the property owners. So we had a go-to person.
This subdivision is the one, you've probably heard me say it before. If I haul a load of gravel for the town of Alton, I have to provide them a certificate of insurance. Here, this person designed this subdivision without the appropriate detention system down at the bottom of the hill. And we all know, I don't know if you're aware of what's happened, but it went and filled the neighbor's house, two neighbors' houses across the street.
And the stream.
And the stream. I mean, it was an absolute horror show. We shouldn't have been able to call on his insurance, there's errors insurance, because there was a definite bust in the engineering on that project.
There was.
And that's no fault to these people whatsoever.
Right.
And, but that's why I feel we should have certificates of insurance for these
Absolutely.
engineers.
And,
And I've been on this board for what, 14, 15 years, and we still don't have it.
right, and I did address that, so I did, I put out that question to Plan Link, so to all the other planners throughout the town, throughout the state. And all of their comments were, that's what bonding, that's what putting a security down is for. And I had lots of questions asking like, why would you ask for a certificate of insurance when bonding
Because
Or letters
the
of
the
credit
bonding
are put in
puts the
place?
onus on the developer, which they're definitely in the food chain. There's no doubt about that. Which would be these people as now, they would be considered the developer.
Right,
The problem being is we were presented bad information. And
I know.
By the engineers.
by the engineers
Yeah.
and the consulting engineer, if there was such a.
Oh, yeah,
one.
CM. what were they?
CMA.
CMA,
They actually
yeah.
were
We
separate,
fired
yeah.
them because they refused to give anybody a price. They just.
Oh, no, they sent their amateurs down to do,
The EITs in places of the. Yeah,
So I just wanted to point out that it's.
so
it's
we're
just
gonna have
down
to ask these
We'll
people
open
for
it up and-
$38,000.
Well,
It's just down to the property owners.
well, I was just looking at this.
Right.
So this is our discrimination.
You can enforce your regulations if you choose to do so and require a bond, or you
Well-
can choose not to.
No, I'm not saying not to, I'm looking at here, clear and grub. I don't think that's part of this problem, but there's a lot of stuff on here that I think maybe we could remove and reduce that amount.
Right, and so you have that option.
Is that detention basin right now?
No, it's not there.
Oh, it's
So
not
that,
there?
that problem was not addressed then.
The problem was, well, they kind of fixed it, but we haven't heard any calls that the water's running across the street, so something must be right, but
they did some corrective work, but the
Who
problem was
who knows what?
they did the contours from an aerial photograph. They never came on site.
Yeah, but those are pretty darn
They
close.
lost the whole drainage. That's what had happened. There was a drainage between the stream and the road.
Well, I wouldn't.
On the
recommend
easterly
we take
side.
that number out then.
Of the road. The 28A side of it.
But I think Roger's on the right track to find some way to get this exposure down a little bit.
Well, if we do that, we've got to go back and look at everybody else because I agree completely with what Roger says. But we've got to treat everybody the same.
Well, from now on, we do.
No,
No, you can't go back retroactive and just start. Say, oh, well, we could.
well, I'll tell you,
We could have done this.
John Q. Public, if we say you made me put up $70,000.
How about if John Q comes back here and asks for an abatement, then we'll consider it.
Fair enough.
Okay?
I mean, this is a bond estimate. It's not, you
Yeah,
know.
and they're usually quite inflated.
Yeah, exactly.
To me,
How you wanna?
the bond is for,
Anything, Jessica?
The performance of the road. So after it's
I
been
mean,
paid,
the road's already been built.
well, when they did Hopewell, we all said the same thing. The road's been there for goodness sake. How long ago was Bob Bear there? A long time. And the road was built by Audley. I mean, they built highways. I mean,
So the board could do either of two things, and in my opinion, this would be my recommendation. To either go through this bond and sort of nitpick it to decrease it. Or they could waive the requirement of the bond due to the hardship being placed upon property owners that were not prepared to be given the responsibility of this whole process.
Here. I'm sorry.
Because the developer walked away on them and left. them
I will support that
situation.
perspective
but
completely.
I would like to
So-
go down through this list
And
point by point
Yep.
because I see a lot of,
so that could be,
BS in it.
that could be it. Either redo the bond or waive your regulation.
is this all he sent us? He has no backup to this?
As far as, no, he doesn't usually provide a
I
backup.
didn't think so, but I mean, clear and grub, what?
Yep.
Common excavation, what? Ledge excavation. Where's the ledge?
Or what ledge would have to be excavated at this point?
Well, it's $1,000 worth.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you don't touch much ledge for $1,000.
Well, common excavation 72, what, the only thing that's gonna, you got two things, the road can go to hell. Or that ditch that's not there could pose a problem. That's the two things I see. I mean, all shoulders are gonna go away. They do that on a normal basis.
I've never been a math whiz, but this extended price doesn't add up to 8,000, 380. Well,
382.
yeah. So 10% of that.
10%.
Crush gravel. What are they? The road's paved. What's he gonna crush gravel?
I guess if it washes out hypothetically, right?
Yeah, I think there was gravel that was put at that build out.
Detention basin. Where?
Rebuild?
This is just a horrible presentation from KV Partners. Personally, I will not vote on this. Just want to let everybody know because I feel this is way out to lunch. Sorry.
Well, if you just looked at 8 and 9, what would you think about that?
8 and 9. Top course, one course. Well, my road 1,650 square feet. The wear course was $35,000. And the engineer put in $55,000 that I had to bond, which I gave to this town. And the thing about it is he says, well, you can do it cheaper than the town. No, the town buys asphalt for about $40 to $50 a ton less than I can. So that is a bunch of baloney.
What's the length of the road?
Don't have it here.
Well,
2,000 feet, Project Road, Ridge Road, 2,000 feet. So this is just 400 and somewhat, 350 feet more. $27,000. I feel that's light. Because I had a bid for $35,000 and I had a bid that was done that day for current conditions. And
well,
I feel we're up against a wall here, pretty badly so.
The way I see it, it's the asphalt. That's been what it's been all the way along. So if we said $75,000.
72,000 common excavation, what are you gonna do?
No, skip I'm just looking at the asphalt, the two, say $75,000 and then 10% of that, $7,500, call it a day. I mean, obviously, if the asphalt goes, you're not gonna fix it for 38,000 anyway.
No, because it's gonna be a hell of a mess and you're not gonna lose all of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not like you really gained anything. The only thing is you put them in some hardship.
Yeah, this would be
Yeah.
torture to these people.
I can look for like a little dash
Yeah,
or
they-
check or whatever, circle, something.
Number 8 and number 9, that's your asphalt.
81,000.
I mean, if
They
the
need 81.
81, 80, yeah, those two.
the
are
asphalt
81,000.
goes bad in 18 months, then
Like a street sign. Do you have a stop sign at the end of the street? Okay. Yeah, well, they want another $450 from you for street signs.
Well. Can I make a radical comment here? I'd like to waive the regulations. These people have been through more than they need to go through.
I agree with that completely, that they've been through more than they have to, but we just got to remember down the road.
I understand, but
that's right.
this
So
is.
anybody that comes in that's had a hard time.
I'll be
okay,
in.
walk
No, well, we were through Don Weldon to Bud Rose. And
Well, Scott just told you, he's gonna be in.
it's the,
These are residents. This isn't a contractor. These are residents.
exactly.
Correct.
And
These are residents that-
they're being talked into being,
Right.
they are representing the developer simply
Right,
because they
because-
happen to live there.
And the developers long evaporated.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
They're
Several of them.
they're
So-
hung out to dry on their own.
But the one that isn't is JM Enterprises who built the road, which is Nutter Enterprises from Belmont.
Well,
They're the ones that still are alive and well, but they dropped their JMN Enterprises and they
yeah,
came
they
back to
did,
Nutter.
they did come back and do all that cleanup work on his dollar.
Well, he
It had
built
nothing
it.
to do with Bud Rose.
No, but he built the road.
No, he didn't do the engineering.
No, I know that. I said.
That
he
was
built
what
the
screwed
road.
everything up. He was working by what the engineers had written. So I mean, I thought that Nutter had done an honest job and stood up behind a lot of this stuff on his own dime. So I don't fault him.
Okay, so what I think is we got two different options here. My option was to charge them the $7,500, which is 10% of the paving of the asphalt cost. That's my thought.
That's 81.
8,100 for the.
Oh, whichever it was there. Well, I said 75,000 for the paving and then.
81,000.
It's
I didn't
81,000.
I didn't add it all up. I just said $75,000 for paving and then 10% of that is 7,500. Or we have the other option, whereas we just, have a good day. Nothing.
So I would suggest that the board make a motion and then you guys can act on it.
I would like to make a motion that we waive our regulations because this is an exceptional case, not because it's something that just comes along once in a while. This case has been going on for so long. They went through so many eras. I believe that we should waive the regulations to this subdivision.
And who are you?
I am Tom Hoops. I
Ah.
was. When I started thinking
I'll
about it.
second that. Bill O'Neill.
Okay, now you can discuss and vote.
Okay, is there any other further discussion?
Yes, I have a question about precedent. I'd like to understand how this doesn't become, an issue down the road and subsequent.
Because that's why in the motion, I said this was an exceptional case.
They're all
But
exceptions.
everyone's.
No,
claiming it's
they're
exceptional.
not. The time factor that has taken place here. We went through, I think, at least four different planners in this subdivision. I can't name them all off the top of my head, but it.
Kathy, Ken, Nick, and myself that I know of.
Oh, is
And there's.
Kathy Manisi was there?
Yeah.
But also Peercraft Lund was in it.
Correct.
Yep.
So that's five.
And the temporary guy we had from Rochester, which is Nick, I
Yeah,
believe.
that's six.
So 6.
Okay,
So,
so
I mean-
let me ask you this. Or say this. So what?
Well, it's a case that's been going on. These people have handled it on their own for the longest time. We have done the repairs works to it. We worked to get that funds that was left over. We used that on the road. I think it's time to recognize that there is some blame somewheres in here with the town. I can't name the blame, but it's been,
I don't think it's the town's blame.
well, in the handling of this whole thing all the way down the road with Bud Rose, that whole screw up. I just don't understand how someone can
Well,
just walk
it's
away.
difficulties with the road. And the developing
drainage.
of the road, following the
drainage.
plans. It's not,
Well, the plans weren't correct.
It goes back to
The
the.
plans
well, the planner didn't do the plans.
No, the engineering was where the screw up, and that's why Scott has argued forever about having insurance. I mean, we could have gone back to them at that point and had them redo it.
Yeah.
I have to give a certificate of insurance for logging.
Yeah, me too. I have.
Why shouldn't they have to build a road?
Well, that's an issue for another day. That's,
No. What I'm getting at
It's a
is why
regulation.
shouldn't they have certificate of insurance if they're gonna build a road?
They're professional engineers. They should.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with Scott.
There's some things that Scott and I actually agree on.
Yeah, we have lots of things, actually, Tom, if you really sit down.
Yeah.
So may I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
it's humane.
Do you feel, Doug, that Tom's explanation?
I
sort of
see, I don't think that it takes the liability away from future instances where everyone's going to say it's a special case, and as much as I feel sorry for the, the residents and everything else, the problem is what it sets going forward here, potentially, down the road in
Setting
similar
precedents.
cases. Yeah, so it's that precedent issue for me.
And I I agree, as much as I agree with you, there, there was a time that there wasn't enough security placed on this project.
Mhm.
And that was the problem. That's why the road couldn't get finished. That's why one of the property owners had to submit
But
funds.
it's just not a security issue, Jess. It goes
Oh, right.
deep. It
I-
really
I
does.
agree. There's a lot,
Yeah.
that goes into play over here.
So that's why I was, inclined to go down the road that Roger was, is to try to make this as minimal as possible in terms of be realistic, for 18 months, what's the
So
likelihood this road is?
Let me
gonna-
ask you, Doug, are you worried about it coming back on the town later on down the road?
Not specific to this project, but it's the other issues that we can't see, 2 years, 3 years down the road.
Well,
from
that's what I'm
another-
saying for other projects.
Other
and this
projects,
road.
exactly. Yeah. And then, then one of these days, that liability is really going to be significant in terms of then leaving the town.
I agree that there is a precedence thing. That's why I was trying to make an example of different exceptional reasons for this particular case.
But again, it comes back that they're all going to be exceptional,
right.
special.
Well,
cases.
not too many,
And maybe more so.
20 some years.
Maybe more so exceptional than what you've got there. Another thing is, as soon as things are approved, they're gonna call their plow guy and he's canceled and now they get the towns in their plowing, so they'll be saving as soon as it gets approved anyway.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yep. And any drainage deficiencies will now be the towns.
Well, Scott saw the road.
Yep,
Yeah.
actually, a few times.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
If he has any hesitations, he'll mention it to the selectmen.
Yep, he's out there, he's inspected culverts, he's inspected the
Yeah.
catch basins, all of that stuff has been inspected.
Yeah.
And cleaned out.
Also, so where I put a gas tank.
I think it's a small amount of money split up between everybody that's there.
So if I can elaborate on the two items, so that would have been number 8 and 9, which was the binder course and the top course. So that would come up to a total of $81,000.
Yep.
Right? So the 10% of that, obviously, $8,100. So that $8,100 could potentially be the bond amount from there.
That is not the motion we have on the floor.
It is not.
That's because
Just
we had
further
discussion.
explaining.
Yeah, this is
I'm
this discussion.
willing to listen to you guys, hey.
I'm just curious that if every time there's a mess up with some engineer or something like that, or something, or a plan, somebody's gonna go, oh, hey, well,
I just have a problem with how they pad these damn things. I mean, if it was real numbers, it's one thing, but they're padded numbers half the time, most of the time. And that's infuriating.
Okay, so I'm gonna just ask this question. There's a motion on the floor. How do we, and now we're in further discussion.
They'll have to rescind their motions.
Or you.
Or I withdraw it.
Right.
Withdraw it and start.
I mean,
Right.
if you're really uncomfortable with it, I think it's a small enough amount that they can cope with, but it just. I don't think.
How about we do this? You take your motion back and I'll make a motion.
Oh, he's got to
We choose between yours and mine.
he's got to do a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do your second, it sticks.
Thanks.
No pressure, Bill.
Can we take public input before this or not? She
Probably
wants
should be
to,
for a final vote, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think you guys are voting. It's not a final vote yet.
No.
You're just discussing the bond requirement.
Right.
so maybe, can we ask for someone to come? forward
Well,
and say,
we have an active motion on the floor. I think we have to
Right, okay.
deal with that. Get rid of it or vote on it, something, but
All right,
it
how's
can't
this?
just
For the
hang
moment,
out there.
In order to get discussion going, I will withdraw my motion as a first.
All right, I'll withdraw a second.
Now we're back to scale one. I would recommend public input at this point.
All right.
Okay.
I'll open it up to the public.
Yep. Since Pat's the agent.
Hi, I'm Pat Torriero. I'm on Ridge Road. I've been dealing with this since 2014, I believe. As you said, we've been through everybody. We've seen builders come, we've seen builders go. I took this on just because I moved in. There were 3 homes on the street. We paid plowing. When we moved in, all of us were told, oh, you just have to pay for plowing. We weren't told anything else. Didn't realize we were liable for the road if something happened. So I started this. I've been jumping through hoops since 2014. They said the road's done. Oh, no, it needs this. Oh, no, it needs that. We got it. Okay. History is history. You've looked at 36 pages of enjoyment. Right now, we just want the road taken over. And now this bond came up. There's 10 properties. The town owns one of them, the biggest frontage actually on the road. Another is just an empty lot that the man refuses. He's actually changed his phone number and his email, so I can't get in touch with him.
He gets a tax bill.
Yeah.
They know where he's at.
He won't chip in for plowing, and there's never been a homeowners association. On paper, it's beautiful.
Is there a homeowners association required?
Yes.
Well, you
but-
guys
but
got to
it-
set one
but
up.
It never got enacted.
It was never enacted. There was never a meeting. There's all the people listed that are on the board are either dead or in prison. So
Oh, good.
it's not good.
Well,
So we
dead sounds like the better option.
this on. I particularly took this on. I've been doing this. I'm a retired paralegal. I thought I retired. I didn't retire.
It's called being tired all over again.
So now the issue of the bond came up. It's a lot of money, $38,300 divided by 8 families, because that's all that's going to pay it. I don't see the town kicking in. I don't see the guy up on the top of the hill with the property that won't pay for plowing kicking in. So it's down to eight families. 2 are retired. 1 has new babies. 1 divorced. 1 recent retired military. It's a hardship. It is a big hardship. I love your idea. I get precedent. Drop it down. Drop it down to $8,000. No, that's still $1,000 a household the week before Christmas. No, we want this done. We really need this done. I'm tired of doing this. Jessica's tired of doing this.
Before we
It
know,
is-
it'll be 40 pages for Jessica.
I get that you need a precedent. I also get exceptional. It is exceptional. This is ridiculous what we've gone through. Drop it down to $1,000. You've got your precedent. I'll write a check right now. We need this done.
Well-
Clarify for me, how was the road was recently repaved, correct?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, that was
That was paid by bond money that was in
Yeah,
there.
it was
a Kearney
Was paid
Klein.
by bond
So
money?
it was paid
Town-
by,
Was,
the town called in the bond, which was
Right.
like $55,000. And then one of the property owners pitched in their own money,
Mhm.
$31,000. So between the 55 and the
Well, he was a developer.
that paid for
okay.
the paving.
So I
of
was
the road.
wondering what
And
happened.
there are extra funds that were left over that are now paying for, the lawyer to write up the
Attorney.
deed.
Gotcha.
The,
Okay.
payment to the selectmen and,
To
like.
clean out the basins.
Yes, right. All the other sort of incidentals, that money was allowed to be used for them to be able to get to.
So the road's beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean,
point
Scott came down, he said, oh, it's
Okay.
great. There were more basins than he thought, actually.
First of all, nothing's gonna happen before Christmas. It's not like imposing this before Christmas. Second of all, so you got 10 lots, so it splits between, you take the 8,100 and it splits between 10, the town being,
But she's just telling you,
It's
the
between-
town will not chip in.
So the
town's-
town's exempt from that.
Right. They just have a lot that's just conservation land,
all
basically.
right, so we'll knock it down to 71. So there's
And
there.
then there's the other guy up on top of the hill that won't pitch in for anything. He just has an empty lot. He got tired of me contacting him about pitching in for, the snow plowing. He changed his email, he changed his phone number,
Well, if we put this money, obviously you say the 10 town's not gonna pay, that doesn't sound fair. So now we're down to 9. So that 9 guy, he gets a bill from the town.
No, he doesn't.
No, the town won't get involved.
The
'cause
town has no claim in this whatsoever.
They won't get involved with it at all.
These
So
are individuals.
I had to mail him certified mail about the deed or something. And out of my pocket, I'm sending this guy that I don't even know because I'm trying to get this done. The road, it's not going to fall apart in 18 months. It's brand new. I mean, it's in good shape. The build out that they did looks awesome. Our biggest problem is our mailboxes keep getting plowed over, but it's another day to deal with that.
That's a different office.
That is a different office. But we are 8 homeowners up against it. I've been doing this a long time. And every time I think we're right there, bam, we get hit with something else. Now it's $38,000 we're getting hit with.
Well, no, we've already ruled out. the
Yeah, as I
38.
say, I think that we've got some sympathy for your issue. So it's not 38,000 that you're facing, but, and then again, I would point out that there will be a savings. The town will pick up the annual charge for plowing and all that type of, so there is a payback for everyone on that road too.
And also you guys really should put your homeowners association
We don't,
to, it's in your subdivision prove that you have to have it. So you guys have to have it.
it would cost thousands and thousands. I called the,
Wait, what would cost thousands and thousands?
we'd have to cancel the old one.
What old home? Is there an old homeowners association?
On paper, it's registered with the state. It would cost
Yeah,
it's
thousands of
gotta go.
dollars to
It's a
get,
recorded document, so they would have to go through the whole thing all over.
we'd
again.
have to get rid of that one, thousands of dollars, and build another one,
You,
thousands. of
you are
dollars.
still gonna have responsibilities to this project throughout your ownership there. The town will not come in and raise your hillsides, and they should be cut back to the right of way and sometimes. So, because I'm gonna tell you, as fast as you can think, these trees are coming into your roadway. And the root systems will start to damage the roadway.
Well, Scott said that the town does that.
Whether they will do it or not, they'll wait till it comes down to be on the roadway before it does it. You should mow and things like this. My subdivision that I have, I'm always going to maintain how the roadside's kept because I want my subdivision to look appropriate.
Great, I mean.
So you need to have that in place.
It would cost us as 8 homeowners, thousands of dollars to do this,
Well,
to get rid of the old one and to reinstate a new one.
I don't think there'll be that much to do, to be honest with you. I don't think it'll be thousands of dollars, but there'll be some expense to it, but not a lot. And open a checking account and everybody pay $50 or $25 a month to put in the kitty. And then you have an active homeowners association. Because someday when you may need something, you may need the homeowners association to help you out. And if you don't have it, it won't be there. The planning board puts these things into effect for a reason.
We were lied to when we bought the house. I mean, we.
I hear your pain.
So I
I
just.
mean, I understand.
Every single one of us is.
That's the fault of the realtor on a deal like that.
But we all had different realtors.
I know, but I mean, the realtor is supposed to be knowledgeable about the property.
I don't think they even knew about it.
Yeah, that's, I don't doubt it.
Virtually guarantee that.
Well, I think we've heard enough testimony to make a decision
I
of how
just
you
ask
guys
that
want to
you
go.
Lower it to the point that it's affordable because. And the road's going to be fine in 18 months, right? 18 months.
I can't agree with you more. I mean, if you've heard me talk, other people have had to put hundreds of thousands of dollars up for a road that's already been built and been there for 10 years. I get it.
It's been there only a couple of years. The top.
That doesn't make it, that's not the point. They're putting up this money on stuff that yours has been there a long time, and so the basic settling of the road is done other than these fixes they've made,
Right.
and so,
So the issue what I'm getting is you just are setting precedent, like we're just going back because others had to pay it, so we should have to pay
well,
it.
we have to look at being fair to every applicant that comes into this room.
I get that. But it's at your discretion to either not do it or drop it down.
Well,
So I think,
something
I think we're
affordable.
significantly reducing it,
Yeah.
We're talking about a $30,000 reduction here from
Right,
what.
that's good. I got a coupon.
So
I'm in your corner. I understand what you're up against, but I'm just worried about everything else that comes down the pipe.
And I don't know, I think, I mean, nobody wants to pay anything, but I mean, I think that's a sizable reduction and I think it's an obtainable amount of money.
But to play devil's advocate, it also was in there that you don't have to charge it, right? That was put in there for a reason,
What was
that
that?
you don't have to do a. bond.
It's in our regs that we do charge it, not that we don't charge it. It's in our regs that we do
It's
charge
at
it.
your discretion.
If it's in our reg, it's really not a discretionary item. We can modify things a little bit because we have some latitude, but
The problem.
reaction is a reaction.
The problem with waiving is the fact that we create the precedents. And if you give it to one person, everyone else wants it. I'm still of the opinion I'd like to waive it, but that's all right.
Well, we make that motion if that's what you want to
Yeah.
do.
Well, I'm,
Yeah, Bill will second
we
it.
will go on and discuss it before a motion is made. I mean, I'd like to, see how everyone feels. I don't want to put everyone on the spot.
You're not.
Let's-
They can
let's do
vote
it
as they
this
see
way.
fit.
Let's just do this. Tom, bring your motion back.
I'd like to make a motion that we waive the fee on this bond and send it forward to be approved by the selectmen. Do the extraordinary.
I'll second that.
I'm Tom Hoops.
And I'm Bill O'Neill. I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose?
So.
I'm not going to vote. I'm going to recuse myself because I don't want to ever be considered that I have voted on something here that could affect my personal business.
Okay, well, first of all, we got to back up because Thomas threw up a hand and I don't know who he was voting for.
Voting for.
For Tom,
Tom.
so that would be 3.
So maybe you should just do a roll call vote just so that it's clear for the
Okay.
record, please.
Anybody in, Tom, are you in favor of? Tom,
I'm
are
in
you
favor.
of Tom's motion.
Yes.
Tom Tiffany.
You vote yes. Tom, you vote for your own motion.
Yes, I do.
So Tom's not.
Okay,
he
not
hasn't-
voting.
He hasn't been appointed to the.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're out of here. You can't even vote.
He can't vote.
Wait a second. We need 7.
We don't. We need a quorum.
Right.
No, we need 7. Oh, you can't
We need
replace the
4.
selectmen.
We
Can't
need
replace-
4.
Oh, yeah, he's not here.
4 votes for the affirmative.
No, but if there's an alternate available, you seat them.
And he's been seated.
Yeah, but we can't, I was thinking there's just 6 members here.
Right, you guys can't replace the selectmen.
Okay.
Yeah, he's this selectman.
Tom Hoops, you're in favor of.
I'm in favor of my own motion.
Doug?
because of precedent, no.
Oppose.
I'm a yes.
Don't want to skip myself. Roger opposes.
I'm a yes.
Those in favor? Lee?
I'm an A.
Nay, opposes.
Opposes.
And
I abstain.
Staying. So we got an oppose, 1, 2,
3 to 2.
3 to 2.
But I want these people to know I support them 100%.
I support them 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so now.
You get for a score.
Now we got to make.
3 to 2.
3 to 2.
And 0.
So now we need another motion.
Yep.
And.
Yep.
Would somebody care to, Doug, would you like to make that motion?
And can.
Please go ahead,
Right,
Jessica.
or can someone explain to them how a bond works? Like, do they have to submit $8,000 or is it a percentage of that?
You could get a
How does
bank
that-
letter of
How
credit.
does that
If
work?
someone has a savings account that they'd be willing to put on the hook for 18 months. Well, I mean, it's just a way to do it. And I'm just generating the odds is you can have the bank will say, this is a letter of surety. They will maintain and hold whatever the amount that the board decides on. They'll hold it there, will not let you spend it until the 18 months come up. At that point in time, the town would have to call on the features of that bond or not.
And if within that 18 months, this gets scheduled before the selectmen and the selectmen take the road over, that bond would become void at that point because the town can't hold that bond in place after the after the town takes the road
What are
over.
we even discussing this for? If the town takes it over next month, we're right back where what Tom said.
Yeah. But what if they don't? That's the problem.
Yeah, so, and
They
that's the
will.
point.
They will.
But it's not about this specific
I
case.
agree.
It's about
Right.
the issues going down the road that you can't project.
Can I ask a question? When we're logging and we have to get us, we just go through an insurance company
Yeah. That's,
to get a bond.
that's what a lot of times will do, or banks will write them.
And you can get a $20,000 bond, like when I go out, gotta go down a private road and I gotta get a bond or something. I can get a $20,000 bond for $700-800, $1,000. And that would bring it down that each homeowner would only have to pay $100.
That's what I was wanting someone to explain to them.
So
As far as
that's what
that
I'm saying,
goes.
you can go to an insurance company and
Okay.
bond that out.
Okay.
And they just, it's like an insurance for your car.
Virtually all insurance companies or commercial insurance companies will do this. So it's not going
And
to be an
banks do it.
$8,000 charge to the homeowners at the end of the day.
I've used my bank to do it before.
Here's a question. So if you approve tonight the road, say everything's good, you just have to do this bond and then
Right.
move on to the selectmen. Then I move on to the selectmen and I get on the the agenda for January. And they say, great, we're going to take the road.
The bond's gone.
Let's go.
You don't have to pay nothing. It's my understanding. Am I right?
I think that's
They
correct.
take the bond back.
There was the other issue about the as-built plan.
So the
Get that-
idea of
get
this
that
thing,
up.
before you have to put the 1,800, the money up for the thing, get on the thing, talk to the selectmen so they can take the road over, so you don't have to pay that foolish amount of money. That's ridiculous. Oh, God, it makes no sense.
And it's the problem is it's these old subdivisions as to why it sounds crazy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like Hopewell, that's one there, and
Right.
I mean, you were here when we had to do that. We were all saying, you gotta be kidding me. And we did it.
So now are they able to go back and get that?
If the town has taken over the road, yeah.
But they hadn't. It had been a whole year. It was a long time
Well,
before
maybe
that
they
even
didn't
got
know.
addressed,
They didn't know.
Half the time people don't know.
You know.
I've got everything ready to go upstairs to the selectmen in a neat little file, everything they need. So it's,
All right.
Right.
So-
So can I recap just a few things? So what I was hearing is a request to redo the homeowners association. So would the board add that as a conditions precedent?
Is that our
We don't-
purview?
I'm trying to.
It's in your subdivision approval that you have it.
it's.
Well, it's not bogus. It's a recorded document, so it's there. And I don't want to argue this fact with you because it's there. So you have to have it. It's the recorded, your covenants of your subdivision, there are covenants for that. I am willing to bet.
There are covenants.
And in those documents, it says that you will have a homeowners association.
Until the town takes over.
If that's what that language says, that's fine. I don't know what the
what
language
it
says.
said.
Okay, well, then that's,
And then it gets dissolved. So there would be no point.
But no, you still will have some community expenses.
yeah.
Town takes over the road. Why? Like what?
You're busy.
Get a vibrator?
A lot of logs coming down.
Yeah, but I can't hear it. Yeah,
Okay,
there
so,
is.
so if I'm just gonna recap, so there's a potential of that requiring a new homeowners association startup. There's a submission of an amended as-built plans. And whatever else, whatever the bond amount is. So that's kind of what I'm just trying to recap on these things that. So what's left over in the escrow account is roughly $2,000.
I don't
And
know. I don't
so
know
I'm-
what the
so I'm letting
attorney
you know.
charged.
So right now, there's roughly $2,000 left over in the escrow account, but I haven't seen an invoice from the attorney.
She said she sent it whenever it was done in the summer.
Okay, because I don't have anything in my file that shows.
So if you didn't pay that out of that, then there's nothing.
So that's what I'm trying to get to you to let you know what as property owners would be responsible for
And the as-built,
to
we would
get
have to
these
pay
things
for
done.
that.
Yes. So that's.
That can be an
amendment.
addition onto existing maps that you have, because
Right,
it,
doesn't exist, yeah, it just needs to get amended, but
And who would do that?
who drew the maps?
that's Prospect Mountain Survey.
No, he's around.
And just to build that, just to do that little 200 feet it was. They
So that,
widened
to
the
where that
road.
build out is, that would need to be, yeah, that would need to be captured on that as-built plan. Everything else was, didn't change.
And that was
That
essentially
area.
the slope we're saying.
Yeah.
The slope and the distance out from the
They
roadway.
just widened the road there.
Is the homeowner association something that's, purview to our discussions here at the planning board level?
If it's in the approval of documents, yes, it is, and it
Yes.
is. It's in the original approval.
You didn't happen to see that, I'm sure.
The, yeah, I have them right here.
Wow. Misorganization.
Now, can you see why this took me so long?
I've got a pile half that thick.
You haven't seen the box
What
down
was the
there.
box down here?
It's like the history.
This
of
is why I
Ridge
didn't
Road.
want to rush through things. There's a lot of moving parts.
There's a what?
There's a homeowners association that okay, so there is bylaws of Chestnut Cove Estates Homeowners Association. There's a declaration of covenants for Chestnut Cove Estates, Alton, New Hampshire. And there's a declaration of temporary road maintenance agreement.
Exactly, those.
So these three documents were recorded as part of the subdivision approval.
Yeah. So the homeowners association is a recorded
It's a
requirement.
recorded document.
Well, it isn't called that. The town of-
Well, she has the copy of the recording there, so.
That's what I'm looking at. He just gave it to me.
Okay.
So they're covenants that. The thing is, we can't reinstate the one that's there. We would have to dissolve it and make a whole new one.
Why can't you?
Why can't you
We can dissolve it. It would
why
just-
do you need to dissolve it?
Why can't you just reuse it?
Because the woman at the state said we would have to dissolve that in order to get a new one. I said, why? can't
Right, to get a new one. Why can't you use that one?
I
Revive it.
said, why can't we just open this one up and, because everyone that's mentioned isn't around.
But
It was never, there was never a meeting.
But you have an association. It's recorded that you have it.
Yeah, members change all
So
the
it's just
time.
like
Yeah.
You
using-
don't start a new association.
Every time
It's
someone
like using a
dies,
Title on a store, right? We can just reinstate.
so Chestnut Cove Homeowners Association or whatever she read off to us, that's the name of it.
And it'll state, that you need a president, you need a this, you need that, it'll.
And you need no two number, so, because you're an entity.
Mhm.
Now, Tom mentioned that even if the town takes over, that there's still gonna be costs from.
Well, I mean, who's gonna do
Yeah,
the,
whatever's
who's gonna
made
mow
out-
lawns along the edges of the entrances and things like that?
The town isn't gonna do it.
Exactly. I mean,
It's done it now.
what?
It's just gravel at the ends.
Well, it should be loamed and seeded. All soil should be stabilized.
Is there common property or is it all the property owned individually by all of you?
It's all down at the very front, but there's an abutter too. It's gravel and a stone wall that says Chestnut Cove Estates. And it's just gravel.
Right, but.
I've gone down.
Is there anything that would be in your deed that has common land? If there's
No,
common
there's
land,
no
then would have
common
to have an
land.
association.
Yeah.
If there's no common land and it's individually owned, I don't see why you need one.
There's no common land at all. I mean, there's this little patch of gravel and weeds grow up and I think it's ugly and I've gone down and pulled them more times than I can count. But that's it. It isn't really common ground. It's just right now. it's a
Common
big
land is
snow
what they,
pile.
yeah, like an association through a common.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
how
there's
about-
no walkways or anything.
Mr. Chairman, can I just share something out of this? This is the declaration of temporary road maintenance agreement,
Mhm.
which has been recorded. And under declaration of maintenance agreement, number 2 states all owners of said lots and their successors, heirs, and assigns shall automatically become members of the Chestnut Cove Estates Homeowners Association, which association shall be charged with the maintenance and repair of said Class 6 road. So all of the owners of the lots and their successors, heirs, and assigns. So that just follows through the chain of command.
That means you have a meeting in July. You know, and
So
you just
owners of the
you
lots
get together as a
automatically
neighborhood and you
become
have a meeting.
members.
Okay,
Keep
Have a
records
barbecue.
and, you know,
okay.
Hmm.
We're an association.
So
Well,
as the
another-
agent, you could contact the property owners because they are members and get together and have a meeting.
and the guy that doesn't want to pay,
Yep.
he hasn't got a choice.
What do we do for him?
Well, you have to file suit against him.
Is he a lawyer?
Well,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, prominent lawyers can be knotheads too.
They can be sued just as well.
I have another point.
Another thing you might
Is
think of
it
is,
Slade?
Yes.
He's a neighbor on the other side.
Yeah, he wants nothing to do with the road. He will not respond. He will not pay. He will not do anything.
That's the guy off, that's above you.
Or whatever.
Go
it is.
down
Ermici?
Miramichi Road.
Yeah,
That's his house.
yeah. Yeah.
Kathy O'Meara's brother.
Oh, okay, I know who it is, then, sure.
Yeah. And it was right behind his house is where the tower is.
Yep.
But
is it something that each person can take care of in front of their own house, like the weed whacking of the grass?
Oh, yeah.
We do on our street.
Yeah. All the homeowners, we take care of our own.
What's that?
Not our property.
Yeah, we went down, Aaron came with his weed whacker. Yeah, I mean, we all work together and
So-
there's no, it's the worst
But-
lot is the big one.
And then how do you handle the snow plowing, this community?
We
Offer-
have different people come, I take bids. I'm also the snowplow lady.
Okay, all right.
Well, you're important to have around.
Get the retired lady. But I've taken bids and then they come and they do. And
But
last year, the one
And then
guy
you
took out
just,
my son's
so
car.
by default, the homeowners association is working at some level because you're getting compensated from everyone who's in,
Who's compensating?
people are paying for the snow plowing,
Oh.
your neighbors, right?
It's like the way
in
we're
effect, the homeowners
compensated here.
association is in effect.
so in essence, you guys have built a community.
Yes.
That's my point, is you've already.
You have a
by
community.
default The homeowners association that's doing that then.
So what you're getting at, so the only maintenance that you take care of as an association or alleged association is plowing of the road. So if the town does take over the road,
There's more to the just plowing of the road,
Right.
if there was,
cleaning out catch basins and
I
things
do
like they've
mine
done that.
myself.
Yeah, well, that's great. And you can.
And there aren't catch basins up top. Honestly, the biggest frontage is the piece that the town owns, and has the most weeds and growth coming up because nobody maintains.
Right on the corner. That's my point when I just said the town's not going to maintain it. You just acknowledged
Who-
that.
Is that under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission or is it?
I don't know who has title
Are they
to
gonna
that.
sell it, auction it off? What do we do? Because
No, I think Jessica probably can wade through that. Not that she has way more
She's
time.
got time. Look at it.
But that probably, the disposition of the town lot probably is called out somewhere.
I mean, is it unbuildable or what?
I have no idea.
It's very thin, very narrow, very long up a hill. It's a weird piece of property.
Would there be a space that you could actually build on or?
Yeah, you could build.
Is
it.
it on the right hand side going up between the stream and the?
It's between, yes. It's when you turn off Chestnut Cove, you're coming up, it's on the right. It's got the most frontage. It's very long.
Yeah.
There's a stream back there.
Right.
And it could be built on, but it's just sitting there being ugly
Why would the town have it?
because the
Exactly.
man went bankrupt.
Oh, was it, did they buy it for tax sale?
Yeah, they
I'll
did.
take it.
Yeah,
Oh, then that will be sold someday.
But that's it.
yeah.
So it's under the name of the town, not the custody of the.
Well,
conservation.
if the town I don't know if they've taken it back. They just may have the attachments on it.
They
would
have to wait
give it
another
back
10
to the
years, though.
town.
I know, it's awful. If you buy something at foreclosure, you can't build on it tomorrow morning.
It has to sit for 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, it's awful.
Well, it's been maybe 3 now.
But we don't know when that clock started.
You can talk to the town clerk.
Yeah.
So,
Or-
Mr.
To
Chair,
answer your question, that's
Yeah.
the worst piece. Every other
Yeah.
piece of property is very well maintained. There aren't the culverts at the top. It's,
Yep. Jessica has something to add.
your recommendation to redo the homeowners association, I don't, unless I'm misunderstanding something, I don't see where that would cost anything.
No, it shouldn't.
I don't.
So-
the homeowners
So,
association
with that
exists.
being said,
Just been inactive, right?
Yeah. The Secretary of State has, if it's recorded, it's recorded. You know,
right, so it's acknowledged in this homeowners association that if you have a duly recorded deed, the lot is proof of membership in the association. So everyone has a deed.
okay, yep, we do.
So you're all automatically part of that association. So my suggestion to start up this association is to
Get
hold a
bank.
meeting.
Take
Assign your
minutes.
officers
Minutes.
as laid out, yep, minutes, as laid out. And then discuss these bylaws of the homeowners association. And also discuss the requirements that are in this declaration of covenants is to what everyone's talking about as to there are other things more than just the town taking the road over. There are stipulations on,
No
you'd
chickens
have
and
to-
you can't
right.
have, yeah.
So as an association, you would discuss those things.
The poor roosters take it on the chin every time.
It's in there, no chickens.
So
It's in there.
I don't see that there's a cost associated with, so just have a meeting,
The
and
woman
start
at
it
the
up.
state that we're gonna have a meeting tonight at 4.
have a meeting, start it up. And so your first point of order should be, is to elect your officers.
And get a bank account.
Yep.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say which town officials told me, but they told me where I
They cannot touch your.
own so much road frontage and I brush cut it myself that I could actually send the town a bill. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know.
You can always send a bill.
It's relevant.
Town comes up,
you want.
no, it's because the town pays.
Yeah, we're gonna move on here. I think-
Everyone's getting punchy.
I think
No,
that we're.
Just wondering if they can, they're talking about the towns
Positive
not taking care of their property.
Right,
So no, so that needs to be really clarified.
okay.
Well, what would our recourse be? Okay, say poof, we're an association. And one of the things in the covenants is,
I'm sorry, when you guys talk in the background, it cancels out the recording. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
what recourse do we have if, okay, we're now an association and in there actually says no goats or something? And John decides to get goats for some reason. What do we do? Like, as the association, we would have to go after whoever decided to get
Correct.
goats.
Yep.
So we have to collect a dues.
You have a
Say-
barbecue.
Huh? You have a barbecue for the goats? So we have to have an association and collect money to be set aside if somebody does something squirrely, like get goats. I feel that an association kills my property, not kills my property value, but I wouldn't have bought in a neighborhood.
It's not an HOV. HOA or whatever
Right,
you call
it's
it.
not
I
that.
wouldn't touch one of those.
No, me neither.
Now, back to my question, if I may finish. What I was getting at is Alton is part of the association. Why shouldn't they be paying their fair dues? And if they're not, if they go down and maintain the road frontage,
Especially since that's the
they
worst
should
piece.
be, Alton should be paying their fair share.
We should
It's-
address the
Or at
selectmen.
least maintain that piece of property. 'Cause
Bring,
that's the
bring
worst.
that up at the selection, the
No, bring
selection.
it up at your homeowners
Well,
association.
but there may be something in your covenants that says that they have to.
Right.
And if they're an owner, then they have to.
Right, and at
Jessica
the
says
time,
But so
Yeah.
what we want to
they
do
didn't,
here,
yeah, they didn't own it at the time, though. That's
Doesn't matter. They're in their heirs.
Right, but
But it
it's,
says an
They're
heir.
heir to the,
Yep.
An heir. So
yeah.
so what we're trying to do is we're trying
Bylaws
to,
future owners.
trying to move along on this here.
I agree.
So what we want to do is we still need a vote. Oh, Scott went away. We voted against Tom's. We haven't held the vote.
Well, no one's made a motion on anything
I
else.
know.
Right.
Well,
So-
John, I think they got to figure out what's in the motion here because, you know, Jessica raised the point about the homeowner association, but that doesn't need to be part of the motion because
Right. I was just trying to get some costs, like a cost figure
So-
down.
what we're looking at, I think, is that this motion needs to cover putting in this amendment as for the as-built plans with the slope.
Well,
I
wait,
think
let's,
we need to do the bond.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need
And
to,
the
we need to
bond.
separate them. We can't, because this is,
You wanna
they
do
may go
separate?
get a bond and that's $10 or whatever.
Fine,
And that's,
okay.
that's real money. They have to come up with that. So
I would address it
can you,
separately.
oh, won't someone make a motion on the $8,100?
So, okay, I'll try it. In lieu of precedent here, I make a motion that we reconsider what the roadway maintenance bond estimate would be and reduce it from the $38,000 to just specifically being the binder course and top courses that would be $81,000 as a projected price. And with a 10% construction cost for that would be $8,100 as the roadway maintenance bond that the homeowner association would have to cover for the roadway maintenance.
And Roger will second that motion. Any further discussion?
Question. The concept here is that once it then goes to the selectmen, and if the selectmen say, yes, we will take over this road, their bond will automatically be released, or, I mean,
I think we ought to let the selectmen speak to that.
yeah.
I said, I think the selectmen should speak to whether the bond gets released or not. That's really out of our control here.
Okay.
No,
I think the selectmen can do anything they want. But
All right, so we got a motion and we got a second. Any further discussion?
Like I was telling you, on that $8,100, go to an
Insurance.
insurance company
Mhm.
and you can.
It
take out
won't
an
be
$8,100.
$8,100. That's right.
So that discussion was already held. We're voting here.
I realize that, but
Well, we had that discussion. We're voting now. You have a motion
jeez.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
I,
All opposed?
Scott abstains.
I
I'm
oppose.
staying.
All right, we're gonna have to
So
do a
what was
roll
your
call.
vote?
I oppose.
Did you vote, Lee?
Yeah, I said I abstain.
Okay.
So we got
So-
two abstains now.
Yep.
Why, just because I said we gotta move on? Holy,
it's your tone of voice, sir.
well, sometimes you have to.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes you have to. That's why I'm abstaining now.
So now we're nowhere.
No, yeah, you are.
I voted aye.
Oh, you voted aye?
I voted aye.
Okay,
I'm going with the board, I mean, it's,
all right.
So Tom, Doug and Roger vote aye. Abstention,
Abstention.
opposition.
Correct.
That's 3-3. That
Nowhere.
goes nowhere. That motion.
Yeah,
dies on
I
the
don't think
table.
you would take the abstention.
extension is, or no,
Right.
That's not, it's a no?
no,
It's not a no.
No, it's
No,
not.
I don't think you can call us a no, we just
They're not
elected not to
participating.
vote.
Okay, I understand. Okay, yes.
it's
Yeah.
3-1.
Actually, you're right.
So the
Yep,
motion.
it's 3-1.
carries.
Passed.
Motion passed.
There you go, kids.
Wait,
Go
I
go to
just got
Foster's.
It's way too
confused. So
late.
there's no bond.
No.
Oh, no,
No.
$8,100.
$8,100.
A bond for 80.
But the insurance, as they're saying,
Will be less.
Right.
Don't go to the insurance part. You'll get all of that.
Jeez. I'm
I'm
trying to keep us
self-insured.
on course here. We were in the middle of voting.
Oh, she asked me a question.
Are you all up to
She's
speed
not
on
the
what
chairman.
just happened?
So I'm gonna change that down here.
Mr. Bowman, you don't live there? He is absent. The Board of Selectmen, are you saying? I would say the Board of Selectmen. I mean, if all else fails, it's the Board of Selectmen. What's
Or
that?
they're a designee.
Yeah. Yeah, we are not in any capacity of what they can do. I mean, we do what we do.
Well,
We're
according-
sending a recommendation to them to approve the road going to this town with these conditions that we have set. They then either accept our recommendation or decide to do what they want to do.
They can do anything they want to do.
According to what Jessica.
They're
That
the
man's point.
fathers of the
The
town,
town has the deed to that
but
property.
they usually are
which
pretty
means they're
common sense.
automatically part of the association.
Yep. You can you can write the town a letter and see where it takes you.
I would lean the both non-payers. Let the liens add up. If they ever decide to sell, they have to pay because there's a lien on their property. There's
Yeah.
nothing they can do about it.
Can't do that to the town.
If
You
there's
sure
a
you can?
lien on the property,
It's their property.
If it, because it'll say it in there, if that's, the association is recorded, it should say it in your deed that you have to.
It says
be
it,
part
if
of it.
you hold the deed, you are automatically a member of the
But it should say it
association.
in your deed that you're part of that
It
association.
should be, or you should be also provided that paperwork.
Right, everybody should have it in their deed, even the guy that doesn't want to pay. It's-
Whoever
it's
did
in
the
his
title
deed.
search
So you
would
can
be
put a lien on it.
responsible to bring all these documents forward to you.
I have all the deeds.
No, not talking about the deeds, the membership papers to the homeowners association. You should have, your title, who did your title search should have found all that stuff.
Yeah, we have all those copies.
And that's where you got them from, most likely.
Have that?
I think a copy of that sent to David Slade and sent to the town.
so do we need to do something on the rest of the issue?
And the guy that's not paying,
David Slade,
That's David
that's who it
Slade.
is.
put a lien on his place.
Yeah.
You can, yeah.
Again, it's gonna cost us money, so
I
that's
would
why we
just-
have.
Yeah,
to
you'll
have
get it back eventually.
It up for public.
But
Maybe the
it's,
town should just give the
Being
street
sitting
that,
as an agent,
to the
but I would open
property,
it up to the
and we'll
public.
make it a,
And then
something.
you can either continue if you need more.
That's the worst of the lot.
Well, if it goes up for sale as a community, you can make an offer.
you just have to wait 10 years if I'm.
10 years.
That's-
Well, no, you need to text with it.
So they haven't voted
Either the
on it.
tax clerk or the,
Because
whoever
they-
handles the
can-
town takebacks
Precedent.
is gonna know.
The assessor would probably be the place to start.
Yeah.
Cause
Well, I'm
he's
saying
probably
it's the
pulled the
town.
plug.
Town's only owned it for 3 years now,
Yeah,
so you have to wait 10 years before it can go up for auction.
That's what I thought. I don't know.
Yeah,
why is that?
It's some foolish law that's there and people, when they go to these
It's an
auctions
opportunity
for
to buy
tax
it
sales,
back.
they don't realize
That's,
that
oh,
they're buying this land and then they can't do anything. Well, if they do, they're crazy because that person has the right to come back out of the woodwork and settle their debt. Which is
So
baloney
in
as far
order
as
that I
I'm
don't
concerned.
yell at anybody, I would like to open it up public discussion, public again, for the discussion on whether or not we turn this over to the selectmen. And then we put this to bed. So is there anybody from the public that would like to speak for or against this going to the selectmen?
I would love for this to go to the selectmen.
Well, we have to wait till your cronies say whether they want to say anything. or not.
Well, if they can raise their hand and speak for, raise their hand and speak against.
I'm hearing voices of agreement.
Yeah.
All right, well, they're not coming up, so I've opened the public. Oh, we gotta, just state your name.
Sure. Aaron Hahn, 50 Ridge Road. I totally support this going to the Board of Selectmen. That's all I have to say, and I would really appreciate. Yeah, sorry.
Is this your?
should we ask for a vote from the association?
We don't need to.
I don't think you need to. I think they're all nodding.
They don't have any officers yet.
If they disagree, they'd say something.
Somebody's raising their hand.
We have the unofficial boss here.
Okay. Any other one, anybody else from public to speak? Seeing no hands, I'll close the public and I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion. We recommend the adoption of this road by the selectmen.
I'll second.
So can, what,
Oh, wait a second.
slow down, so on
With, oh yeah, we need
Page-
With conditions precedent.
with condition precedent.
Yeah.
On page 35 of that plan review,
Oh, God,
the last page.
I have to take it all apart again. It has to be specific.
Page was it?
Page 35, second to last page. Just want to ensure that we do it right.
There, 33. They're up in the corner there.
So if you can
35.
read that, so condition number 1 is to enact the home
Yeah.
association schedule meeting,
Ready.
submit updated as-built
Yep.
plans and submission of security in the amount of $8,100.
After due hearing, the Alton Planning Board hereby confirms compliance with the approved, no, that we recommend forwarding to the selectmen with the following conditions. That they enact a homeowners association, schedule a meeting, submit the security of 8,100. And I think that's it.
And you read that?
Oh, no, and then the other one here is submission of the updated as-built plans. And that can, I believe, if you go to the person who's drawn them and you have them simply add on the section that has been changed on the map, that should not be a huge expense.
Okay, and that would be paid for out of the
Out of
escrow
that,
if there's anything left.
So I said there's roughly $2,000. And like I said, I just went back and looked through my file. I have not received the invoice. The attorney.
Yeah, and she said she sent it, so.
Okay, if you.
Well, if you
can-
could touch base with her and
you can
just,
Ask them to.
double
resend
check.
it, And so then that way I can give you, a breakdown of
Better
what's
figure.
remaining.
Okay.
So then all the future expenses would be split between, property owners.
Okay, so now we can go on to the selectmen as long as we.
You gotta vote on this.
yeah, we have to
Yep,
vote
they're
on
gonna
this.
vote on it first.
We'll give you a recap in a second.
Yep.
Once it's official.
You need another second?
You should probably second
I'll
what
second-
his
I'll
additions
second
were.
Thank you.
That Bill O'Neill.
Was that Tom Hoops that made that motion?
I think it was.
Okay.
I've lost track.
No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sounds pretty unanimous. Off to the town it goes.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to recap real little. So tomorrow I can go up to the selectmen. I've got the deeds, everything is right there. I can call what was it? Mountain, somebody.
Prospect Mountain Survey.
Mountain.
Yeah, I have
He's
the
down there at the
as-built
Williams
at home,
Building.
So,
So you're gonna submit that first. You're gonna submit the updated as-built plans, because the Board of Selectmen are gonna want to look at that.
Yeah, that's gonna be all hinged on that.
Yep, and then work on your association, have a meeting. Elect your officers and, meet however occasionally you want to meet.
May have to plow off the snow so they can see that
And then-
ground.
And then you're gonna be contacting an insurance company to get the bond in the amount of $8,100
mhm.
and submit that.
And I need all that to go
And
upstairs.
yep, and so that needs to get all put in place before you can see the selectmen. And I know you've already started working on that process, so it'll be a little easier once you get these things done.
There's a few extras I wasn't counting on the as-built and
Yep.
homeowners, but whatever. Thank you
Yep.
very much. Thank you for your time. We're gonna hit our first homeowners meeting. at
Good luck.
Foster.
Enjoy Foster's.
Where is Foster?
This, Alton Bay, JP China.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Foster's. That's Australian for beer.
Foster's.
Got windy in here all of a sudden. You feel it?
Say, where the heck
I
that
did.
wind
Yep.
come from?
It's
Think
the
that
we're
vent
not
right
late.
up there.
it's the new vent up there.
Yeah.
See it easier way?
It's the
they
heat.
turned the air conditioner on for you.
Yeah. Yeah, Roger had that turned on you.
Letter of deficiency.
Huh?
Roger had that turned on for you.
Yeah, cool you right off.
Right
Want to just hold on and let these people.
Well,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
Take it easy.
Christmas.
holiday.
Good night.
Things-
Everybody said they wanted me to.
They never did, a requirement. Electric poles to be put in. So there was no electricity.
We're not coming.
Not done.
We're close, I hope.
That's what I'm trying to find them. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the thing.
No, yeah, we're just about done.
It's been a.
Oh, yeah, where'd that letter go?
So, Mr. Chairman, the next items on the agenda are really just correspondence for the board's information. It's really just so that you guys are updated as to what's going on over at Robertson Old Campground regarding the public water system.
Yeah, that's,
So that was, so I just want to, it's not up for discussion, but I just want to let you know that John is addressing this.
yeah, well, that's,
So the code official is on this along with DES, and that's pretty much all I can share with you right now.
they have to have a water
Yeah,
supervisor on,
Yep.
on of record on there that has a public distribution license.
correct. The next item on the agenda, which is the memo dated December 6th regarding John Jedry and his need for a contractor's yard.
Yeah.
As it's stated in the memo, he did come in. I worked with him. He's going to contact his surveyor to do plans and such, and he will be submitting an application. So I'd hope that that satisfies the board's requirement for him to come in and get approval. I figured it would.
He's got that all for sale anyway.
Well, is there a date specific? I didn't notice,
Really desirable property.
What's that?
Really desirable property.
So.
It will be for somebody.
Round two.
Right, so
Better
just,
believe it.
well, just so Mr. Jedry is kind of at the mercy of his surveyor.
Yeah. Who is Prospect Mountain Surveyor? Right?
But I nope, there was someone else that did the survey. The name escapes me right
I
now.
think they're all flat out.
They're all flat out
Right.
busy. They really are.
I would assume in a reasonable amount of time.
Quantify the word reasonable.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
So the next, I'm hoping you on the agenda, the
That's
next
no
item. So the next item that was added was under any other business, which was the comment I made that you're up for reelection. And B, the board was to vote on Mark Manning becoming an alternate if he's still brave enough to become part of the board.
Just think you could have scheduled a root canal tonight.
You see how much fun it is?
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to have Mark join us.
So moved.
I'll second
Second
that.
it.
Tom.
Oh, Scott's so moved it. Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You're on.
Welcome.
Ask if he wants it.
Yes, absolutely.
So before you guys leave tonight, can you please sign this paper, and I'm gonna hand it off to Mark, and he's gonna bring it to the town clerk and get sworn in.
You got a pen? I'll sign.
Sworn at.
Sworn at, absolutely.
Okay.
Sign this as chair.
You might want help.
Can
insurance,
just cite
though.
your it's just a member.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you do the other end. You're doing that way. Go that way.
The only
Tom,
other,
I'll bring it. I'll deliver it. How's that sound?
the only other thing that I wanted to just let the board know, it's not on the agenda and I didn't add it. That I did go through and
Not a minimum.
Yeah, you are.
I
You
interviewed
today.
people.
Yes.
Oh, good.
And I hired Robin McLean. I stole her from the New Durham's planning / zoning / assessing.
Oh, we're gonna get in trouble with Durham?
Nope, I already talked to the town administrator.
Okay.
So she's coming directly from the position that she would be going into. So it's I feel like
No
it's
training involved.
easy transition. She starts on January 3rd. So if you guys can.
Good deal.
So
Yeah,
2023 shall be easier for you.
I'll tell you. She was in the office there because New Durham's tried to do something down in New Durham. Their planning regs are awful, way out there, beyond reason. That's end of that soapbox.
Nothing else.
I'll look
Go
for
home,
motion.
Jess.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, you stole my thunder.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Can we go?
That was me. Yeah, Roger's gonna come on. Are we
Roger,
still
well done.
recording?
Yes, we are.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
You can't tell me what you think of me yet.
Yeah.
Still recording.
Yeah, hold on, hold on.